You are standing in the cellar of an ordinary house in an ordinary town on a small island in the middle of a wide blue sea. It is cool down here and dim. There is the smell of cut stone and old dust in the air. Workmen have been at their labor, digging, cutting into the soft, pale rock beneath the floor, and they have stopped. Because there, where the ground should be solid, there is a hole. A jagged opening, no wider than a person, breaking downward into a darkness that goes further than any lamp can reach. Let us begin where the world began to find this place. Not 5,000 years ago, but a little over a century ago, on a bright Mediterranean morning, with ordinary men doing ordinary work. It was the year 1902, in a growing town called Paula on the island of Malta, and the island was building. New houses were going up, row upon row, and each new house needed water. And so, beneath each one, workmen were cutting cisterns, deep tanks down into the soft, pale limestone to catch and hold the rain. Picture them at it, in the cool beneath a half-built house. Strong men with iron tools, chipping and hollowing down into the rock, the way countless others had done across the island for generations. The limestone of Malta is a gift to such work, soft enough to cut with hand tools, yet firm enough to hold a shape, and cutting a cistern was slow, familiar, unremarkable labor. Down they went, deepening the tank, the pale chips falling away, the daylight above shrinking to a bright square over their heads. Nothing about the morning suggested that anything lay beneath them but more of the same silent stone. And then a tool broke through into nothing. Where there should have been solid rock, there was suddenly a gap, a hollow space beyond the wall they were cutting, a darkness their iron had opened into. Perhaps a stone fell away and they heard it drop, and drop further than it should have, into an empty depth below. Perhaps the cool, strange, waiting air breathed up into their faces. However it happened, the workmen found themselves staring at a hole in the world, an opening into a chamber that no one had made a doorway to, that had no business being there at all, beneath a quiet town, under an ordinary new house. We do not know exactly what they felt, those men, in that first moment. Curiosity, surely. A little fear, perhaps, of the dark and the unknown, and something more, the particular unease of realizing that the solid ground you trusted is, in fact, hollow, that beneath your feet all along there has been a space and a silence and a secret. They had been digging a well for water. They had broken instead into a doorway 5,000 years deep. Rest here, with the well that broke into the dark, the ordinary morning, the iron tool, the sudden hollow beyond the stone, the cool old air breathing up from a place no one knew was there. Rest. Lean over it gently in your mind and feel the air that rises from below, cooler than the cellar, and older, still and silent and faintly sweet with the smell of earth that has not met the daylight in a very, very long time. That breath has been waiting down there in the dark for 5,000 years, longer than the pyramids, longer than almost anything human hands have made and left standing. And tonight, slowly, without any hurry at all, we are going to follow it down through the hole in the floor, down into the carved and silent dark, into one of the oldest and strangest places on the whole of the earth. This is the Nocturne Codex. Tonight we open Codex II, Buried Worlds, and we descend into the Hypogeum of Halsafliani, a temple older than history, carved by hand into the living rock beneath the island of Malta, and hidden from the world until one day a hole opened in a cellar floor. If these long, quiet descents into the deep past are the thing that carries you down into sleep, you might let the channel know you came, a moment on the subscribe, and if you like, a single word below saying where in the world you are listening from tonight and how far down you got before your eyes grew heavy. Then set the phone aside and let your hands go still and let me do the rest. There is nothing for you to do now but breathe and listen and slowly, gently descend. Because that is the shape of our whole night. We are going down. Level by level, step by carved step, deeper and cooler and quieter, out of the noise of the world above and into the still dark heart of the rock. And as we go down into the earth, you will go down into rest, the two descents becoming one until you are sleeping as deeply and as safely as the silence that has kept this place for 5,000 years. So take one slow breath here at the edge of the opening, and another. And when you are ready, let us begin to climb down into the dark. Rest here, at the mouth of the deep, the cool old breath rising from below the hole in the floor, the 5,000 years of silence waiting to take you gently down. Rest. Someone, of course, had to go down and look. That is the way of such things. The hole is found and word passes, and sooner or later a lamp is lit and a person lowers themselves, heart quickening, into the unknown space below. And so, before long, the first curious soul slipped down through the broken ceiling and into the chamber that the workmen's tools had opened, holding a small flame against the enormous dark. Imagine being that person. You drop down into cool, still air and your feet find a floor of smooth stone, and you lift your little light, and the darkness does not press against a rough natural cave as you might expect, but draws back from walls. Walls that are smooth, curved, shaped. This is no accident of nature, no water-worn hollow. Someone made this. Someone long ago took tools to the living rock and carved this space out of the solid earth. A chamber deliberate and finished, with the marks of intention on every surface. And it is empty, silent, waiting. It should not be here, and yet here it is, and here it has been in the perfect dark for longer than you can easily imagine. And then you begin to see that the one chamber is not alone. There are openings in its walls, low doorways, passages, leading on into further darkness, further rooms. A whole warren of carved space branching away beyond the reach of your flame. It goes on. It goes down. What the workmen had broken into was not a single hidden room, but the topmost edge of something vast, a made place in architecture. An entire complex hollowed out of the rock beneath the town, level upon level, chamber upon chamber, sinking down into the earth, and all of it silent, all of it empty. All of it waiting in the dark to be understood. There is a particular kind of awe in that moment, the moment of realizing that the emptiness around you is not natural but intended. That hands like yours, minds like yours, labored here in the dark to shape this silence, and then were gone, so utterly gone that their work lay forgotten beneath a growing town until an iron tool blundered through the ceiling. You are standing inside someone's purpose. You simply do not yet know whose or what or why. Rest here in the chamber that should not be empty, the smooth carved walls, the little flame, the low doorways leading down into further dark, the vast made silence waiting to be understood. Rest. A discovery like this cannot stay quiet for long, and it did not. Word of the strange carved chambers beneath the new houses reached the people whose task it was to understand such things. And the first of them to take up the mystery was a priest, a scholarly man, a member of a learned religious order, who came to the opening in the ground and lit his lamp and went down to study what lay below. He gave himself to it. He descended into the chambers again and again, into the cool and the dark, and he looked, and he measured, and he wrote, filling his notes with what he found in that underground world, room by room, passage by passage, trying to make sense of a place that no living person had ever been meant to see. For a time, he was the one who knew the Hypogeum best in all the world. Its secrets passed first through his careful eyes, and onto his pages in the flickering lamplight, in the deep quiet beneath the town. And then the story takes a turn that feels almost like something out of an old tale. The priest died before his work was finished, before he had brought the full account of the underground temple into the light. And his notes, the precious record of all he had seen and measured down in the dark, were lost. Gone. Whatever he had understood of the place, whatever patterns he had traced and meanings he had guessed at, vanished with him, as though the Hypogeum were reluctant to give up its secret, as though the dark had reached up and taken back the first man who tried to read it. The earliest, closest knowledge of the temple simply disappeared. There is something fitting and something sad in that the very first keeper of this place's secret should vanish and take his understanding with him, so that those who came after had to begin again, almost from nothing, piecing the mystery back together without his lost pages. It is as if the Hypogeum insisted on remaining at its heart unknown, as if it would let itself be entered and measured and studied, but never quite fully explained. The priest went down into the dark to read it, and the dark kept his reading. Rest here with the priest who vanished with the secret, the lamplit study in the deep, the careful lost notes, the first understanding swallowed back into the silence it came from. Rest, but a secret, once the world has glimpsed it, does not stay hidden forever, and others came after the lost priest to take up the work he could not finish. In time, a careful and gifted scholar, a Maltese man of science, patient and methodical, took charge of the strange place beneath Paula and set about doing properly what the dark had interrupted, mapping it, clearing it, studying it chamber by chamber, and slowly forcing it to yield the outline of its truth. And the truth as it emerged was staggering. This was no small cellar, no minor curiosity. It was enormous, a complex of chambers and passages and stairways carved on level below level, sinking some 10 meters and more down into the rock, 3 great stories of hollowed space, dozens of rooms, all of it cut by hand out of the solid limestone. And it was old, not centuries old, millennia. As the evidence was weighed, it became clear that this underground world had been carved 5,000 years ago and more, in the deep prehistoric past, before writing had reached these shores, before the great pyramids of Egypt had been raised, by a people so ancient they had left no name, no record, nothing at all but the silent stone they had shaped and the things they had left in it. And what they had left in it deepened the mystery rather than solving it. For the chambers were not empty of everything. Down in the dark, the excavators found bones, a great many bones, the remains of thousands upon thousands of human beings, laid to rest in the carved rooms across long ages. And they found other things, strange and beautiful objects, carved and painted offerings and figures, the traces of ritual and reverence. This was not a house. It was not a shelter or a store. It was something stranger and more solemn, a place made for the dead, and for whatever the living came down here to do among them. A temple and a tomb and a sanctuary, hollowed out of the underworld itself, beneath what would one day become an ordinary town, and sit too with the quiet miracle of its condition. Most things 5,000 years old come to us as ruins, worn, broken, scattered, guessed at. But the Hypogeum came up almost whole, because it had been sealed in the dark, cut off from the weather and the light and the wearing world. It had not aged as things above ground age. The chambers were as sharp as when they were carved. The red paintings still held their color. It was less like discovering a ruin than like opening a room that had simply been shut for a very, very long time, the dust of ages on everything, and yet everything still there, still waiting, still itself. That is the strange gift the deep dark gives, and it is the gift this whole night turns upon. That what is sealed away in stillness does not wear, does not fade, does not break, but is kept held safe and whole exactly as it was, across spans of time that destroy everything left out in the open. The temple survived because it was buried. It was kept because it was hidden. The dark that swallowed it was also the dark that saved it. And that same keeping dark is folding around you now to hold you and still you, and keep you whole and safe through the night. Sit with the strangeness of it at the close of this first descent. Above, in the sunlight, people went about their days building houses, drawing water, living their bright modern lives, and beneath them, all along, unknown and forgotten, lay this: a 5,000-year-old temple of the dead, carved in silence, filled with the bones of a vanished people, sealed in the dark for 50 centuries until an iron tool broke through and let the daylight, for the first time in unimaginable ages, fall into the deep. Tonight we are going to go down into it slowly and see what they made and rest in the great quiet they left behind. Rest here with the temple under the town, the 3 carved stories sinking into the rock, the bones of the vanished people, the 5,000 years of dark now gently opening to take us down. Rest. So let us go down now, truly down into the temple itself, and take the descent slowly, one carved level at a time, the way you would take a stairway when you were very tired and in no hurry at all. We begin on the uppermost level, the first and the oldest part, nearest the surface, where the light from the broken ceiling still reaches faintly before it gives out. Come with me into the first rooms. They are at first almost gentle, almost ordinary. The uppermost chambers are simple hollows, rounded rooms scooped out of the soft stone, opening one into another through low doorways you would have to stoop to pass. In the beginning, it is thought, this was the modest part, natural hollows in the rock, widened and shaped by hand, used and then enlarged, the earliest reaching down of a people who would, over centuries, dig far deeper and carve far grander than this. Here, on the first level, the work is plain and human and close. Run your hand in your mind along one of these walls as we pass. The stone is smooth and cool and faintly damp, pale, the color of old bone or weathered ivory. It was cut with tools of stone and bone and flaked flint, for this was made long before metal tools were known here, and yet the surfaces are even, patient, considered. You can almost feel the labor in them, the countless small strokes, the slow removal of the rock, chip by chip by chip, by people working in near darkness with the simplest of tools, shaping room after room out of the solid earth. And notice, as we move through them, how the rooms flow one into another, not a single grand hall, but a warren, a honeycomb, chamber opening into chamber opening into chamber, each connected to the next by those low stooping doorways, so that you must bow your head again and again to pass deeper in. There is an intimacy to it, a closeness. The spaces are made to the scale of a body, not of a crowd. You do not stride through the Hypogeum. You move through it slowly, bent, deliberate, one small chamber at a time, the way you might move through the rooms of a house at night, quietly, carefully, half by touch. And everywhere there are the openings that lead further down, dark mouths in the floors and the walls, stairways and shafts sinking to the levels below, so that even here near the surface, you feel the pull of the deeper dark beneath you, the sense that this first level is only the threshold, only the beginning, and that the true heart of the place lies further down, waiting in the cooler and stiller and older dark. The whole structure leans downward, draws you downward, invites you always to descend a little further into the deep. And already on this first gentle level, there is that quality the whole place will deepen as we descend, the quality of a made silence, a shaped stillness. These are not caves that happened, they are rooms that were meant. Someone stood here where you are standing 5,000 years ago and decided that here there would be a chamber and here a doorway and set to work. We are walking slowly into their intention. Let us keep going down. Rest here on the first level, the rounded rooms cut like houses, the cool pale stone under your hand, the low doorways, the patient labor of a vanished people close around you in the dark. Rest. As we go deeper, the work changes, grows bolder, stranger, more astonishing, and the first great wonder of the Hypogeum reveals itself in the very shape of its doorways and its walls. For the deeper chambers are not merely scooped hollows. They are carved to look like buildings. Someone took the solid rock and cut it, with enormous care, into the forms of architecture, as though a great stone temple had been pressed into the earth. And this was its perfect negative, its shadow hollowed out below. Look at the doorways. They are cut in the shape the ancient builders used above ground, great upright stones with a heavy stone laid across the top, the simple, mighty form we call a trilithon, 2 posts and a lintel, the oldest grammar of monumental building. Except that here, underground, there are no separate stones at all. There is only the living rock, cut and shaped so that it appears to be built of great blocks, false doorways framing real ones. Imitation masonry carved from solid stone. The illusion of a constructed temple conjured out of the earth by patient hands with no metal and no mortar. Only the knowledge of what a temple should look like and the will to carve it. And the ceilings, in the finest chambers, carved to mimic the way the above-ground temples were roofed, with courses of stone stepping gradually inward. Here that too is an illusion in solid rock. The ceiling swells and curves overhead as though built of corbelled blocks when in truth not a single block was ever laid. It was all cut downward from the top out of the unbroken stone. The builders of the Hypogeum were copying underground and in reverse the great temples their people raised in the sunlight above. They made, in the dark and the depth, a mirror of the temples of the living day. Think of what that means about the minds that made this. They did not simply need a hole in the ground. They wanted the underworld to look like the sacred buildings of the world above, to be a true temple, a real and proper house of stone, only sunk into the earth and given to the dark. They carried their architecture down with them into the ground and reproduced it painstakingly in the one material the earth would give, the living rock itself. We are walking now through a temple that is also a shadow of a temple, a building with no blocks, a construction with no builders, conjured entirely out of the solid dark. Rest here among the doorways that copy the sky, the false blocks carved from living rock, the curved stone ceilings that were never built, the temple of the day remade in the deep of the earth. Rest. Let us move now from the first level to the second, down the worn stone stairs that sink from the upper chambers into the deeper dark. And let this descent itself be part of your rest. Let the going down be slow and even and hypnotic, each step carrying you a little further from the light, a little deeper into the quiet, a little closer to sleep. The steps are cut straight from the rock, of course, like everything here, a stairway hewn down into the earth, smoothed by the passage of feet across long ages. They are steep and a little uneven, and they descend into a darkness that thickens as you go, the last of the daylight from above falling away behind you until there is only the small warm circle of your own lamp and the endless cool dark beyond it. Down and down, each step lower than the last, each step quieter, each step deeper into the body of the rock. Feel how the air changes as you descend. It grows cooler and stiller and more even, that deep, unchanging coolness of places far below the reach of the sun, where it is neither summer nor winter, neither day nor night, but only the one constant, patient temperature of the deep earth, the same in every season, the same across 5,000 years. The noise of the world above cannot follow you down here. The heat cannot follow you. Only the cool and the dark and the silence closing gently around you the deeper you go. Think of all the feet that wore these steps smooth. For centuries, for longer than we can easily hold in mind, people came down this same stairway in the same lamplight into the same deepening dark. The living came down carrying their dead and their offerings and whatever they believed and hoped and feared. And they climbed back up again into the sun, leaving the dead below. And they came down once more and again, generation after generation, until the passage of all those feet across all those years wore the hard stone of the steps into the soft, rounded smoothness you feel beneath you now. Every step you take down was made gentle by 10,000 steps before yours, across 5,000 years. There is company in that, of a quiet kind, as you descend. You are not the first to go down these steps into the dark, and you will not be the last. You are only the newest of a long, long line of souls who have made this same slow descent, seeking the same deep quiet, the same shelter, the same rest. The steps remember them all in their worn smoothness, the countless quiet descents into the deep, and they receive your descent now into that same long company and carry you down as gently as they carried all the others before you. And as you descend these ancient steps in your mind, let your body descend too. Let each slow step down into the rock be a step down into rest, a settling, a sinking, a letting go. There is no hurry on this stairway. No one is waiting below. There is only the going down, gentle and even and endless, carrying you deeper into the quiet, deeper into the dark, deeper into the safe, cool heart of the earth. Down and down and down. Rest here on the steps going down, the worn stone stairway sinking into the dark, the cooling air, the fading light, each slow step carrying you deeper into the quiet and closer to sleep. Rest. We come now on the second level to something that will stop us where we stand, the first color we have seen in all this pale stone dark. Lift your lamp to the ceiling of one of the deeper chambers, and there, painted onto the curved rock overhead, faint but unmistakable after 5,000 years, are spirals. Red spirals curling and looping across the stone, and honeycomb patterns and swirling shapes in a deep earthen red, the oldest paintings you will ever stand beneath. They were made with red ochre, a pigment of the earth, iron-rich, the color of rust and dried blood and warm clay, one of the very oldest colors humankind has ever used. Someone ground it and mixed it, and carried it down here into the dark, and reached up in the lamplight to paint these curling spirals across the ceiling of the temple 5,000 years ago and more. And there they still are. The daylight has never faded them because the daylight has never reached them. Sealed in the dark, they have kept their color across 50 centuries, waiting overhead in the black for a lamp to be lifted and find them again. What do they mean, these red spirals? We do not know, not truly. The spiral is one of the oldest and most widespread of all human symbols, found carved and painted the world over, and people have guessed at it endlessly. The turning of the seasons, the coiling of life, the path of the soul winding down into the earth or up out of it, the eddy of water, the whirl of a shell, the very shape of sleep and dream. Here, above the chambers of the dead, the red spirals may have spoken of death and rebirth, of the coiling journey out of this world and perhaps back into it. But the truth is that the people who painted them told us nothing and left no words, and so the spirals keep their meaning as the dark kept their color, close and silent and their own. Stand a while beneath them in your mind in the lamplight. Let your eye follow one red spiral, slowly, round and round, in toward its center, the way you might follow a thought as it loosens and turns and dissolves towards sleep. round and inward and down. The oldest color in the world, curling gently overhead in the dark, painted by hands 5,000 years gone, still turning, still quietly turning, above the deep and patient silence. Rest here, beneath the red spirals, the ochre curling across the ancient ceiling, the color the dark has kept for 50 centuries, the oldest paintings turning slowly overhead as you sink towards sleep. Rest. Deeper on the second level, we come to the most famous chamber of all, a small, plain, carefully carved room that has drawn wonder for a century, for a single strange and beautiful reason. It is called, in our time, the Oracle Room. And what is remarkable about it is not what you see, but what you would hear. In the wall of this chamber there is a niche, a carved hollow about the size to hold a person's head and shoulders, cut into the rock at the height where a standing figure might speak into it. And this niche does something extraordinary to sound. If a voice, a low, deep voice, a man's voice at a certain pitch speaks or intones into that hollow, the sound does not simply echo. It blooms. It resonates and gathers and swells and seems to fill not only that room but the chambers around it, rolling through the carved stone of the whole level, so that the rock itself appears to hum and speak, a deep vibration you would feel in your chest and in the bones of your skull as much as hear in your ears. Whether the ancient builders made this on purpose or discovered it by chance and then treasured it, we cannot know for certain. But it is hard to stand in that room and believe it was an accident that no one noticed. A people who could carve false temples out of solid rock, who painted the ceilings with spirals and laid their dead in the deep. Such people, working here in the resonant dark, surely heard what this chamber did to a voice, and surely felt the power of it. A place where a single low voice could seem to become the voice of the earth itself, filling the underworld, rolling through the stone, speaking from everywhere and nowhere at once. And think of what such a thing would have meant to the people who made it, in a world without any of our machines, without any way to make a great sound but the human voice and the human hand. To them, a chamber that could take a single low voice and swell it into a deep filling hum that rolled through the very stone must have seemed not clever but holy, a sign that this was a true meeting place between their world and whatever lay beneath it, a room where a voice could become more than a voice, where sound itself seemed to pass into the body of the earth and answer back. They had no word for acoustics. They would have had a word for the sacred. And this, surely, was among the most sacred rooms they knew. Whether the deep hum was used to carry the living into trance, or to give a voice to the dead, or simply to fill the dark with an awe too large for silence, we cannot say. But you can feel even now, even only imagining it, how such a sound would work upon a person. How a low even resonance, filling the black chamber, felt in the chest and the skull as much as heard, would slow the breath and still the mind and draw you down out of ordinary waking into something deeper and softer and stranger. It is a sound made for the edge of sleep. Imagine it gently as you rest. The chambers in near total darkness, a single flame, and a low, deep voice beginning to sound into the niche in the wall, and the whole carved temple beginning softly to resonate around you, the stone itself seeming to hum with it, a deep, steady vibration filling the dark, filling your chest, filling your slowing mind. It would have been overwhelming down here 5,000 years ago, and it is soothing now to imagine. A deep, warm, resonant hum rising from the rock, holding you, the ancient stone gently singing you towards sleep. Rest here in the oracle room, the carved niche, the low voice blooming into the stone, the whole deep temple softly resonating around you, the rock itself humming you down into rest. Rest. Come with me now to the most beautiful chamber in all the Hypogeum, The one that, once seen, is never forgotten. It lies on the middle level, in the heart of the complex, and it is the fullest flowering of everything the builders knew. The place where their carving and their painting and their strange underground architecture all come together in a single, breathtaking room. The ceiling is the wonder of it. Overhead, the rock has been carved and painted into a great curving vault, and across that vault run the red ochre spirals in their fullest, richest form. A whole sky of curling, looping patterns, swirling overhead in the deep earthen red, so that to lie on the floor of this chamber and look up would be to look into a painted heaven of spirals, turning and turning across the stone. It is one of the oldest painted ceilings anywhere in the world, and it has hung here in the dark, unfaded, for 5,000 years, waiting above the silence, and the walls carry that same illusion of built architecture we saw before, but here at its most masterful, carved pillars, false doorways, the forms of a great stone temple conjured perfectly out of the solid rock, framing the space with a grandeur that has no business existing underground, in the dark, made by people with only stone and bone for tools. Standing here, you would forget you were beneath the earth at all. You would feel yourself inside a temple, a real and sacred and finished temple, that simply happened to have the whole weight of the world resting silently above its painted roof. And consider what it took to make a ceiling like this, to carve downward out of solid rock, a curving painted vault, working always overhead in the dark by the light of a small flame with tools of stone and bone. The carver could not step back to admire the whole. There was no hole to see, only the small circle the lamp revealed, the next stroke, the next hand's breadth of rock. They worked half-blind by feel and faith, trusting that the curve they could not fully see would come out true, and it did. The vault is even and graceful and sure. Somewhere in the dark, 5,000 years ago, a person held that whole shape in their mind because they could not hold it in their eye, and carved it into being one blind, patient stroke at a time. And then they painted it, reached up into that same darkness with the red ochre and laid the spirals across the finished curve. Again unable to see the whole, again working by the little flame, trusting the pattern in their mind. It is one of the oldest deliberate works of art that survives anywhere on the earth, and it was made in conditions we would find almost unbearable, cramped and dark and difficult deep underground. And yet they made it beautiful, not because anyone would see it, almost no one ever would, but because it was sacred, and the sacred deserved beauty, even in the deepest dark where only the dead and the gods would ever look upon it. Deeper still, in the most sacred heart of the temple, there is a chamber that even the builders seem to have set apart from all the rest, the most finely carved, the most deliberately made, the one that scholars have come to call the Holy of Holies. If the whole Hypogeum is a temple sunk into the earth, this is its innermost sanctuary, the deep still center toward which all the descending passages seem to lead. Its face is carved with extraordinary care into the living rock. A grand doorway framed within a doorway, the great trilithon forms cut one inside another, and above them a curved and stepped recess mimicking the corbelled roofs of the temples above ground, all of it hewn from the solid stone with nothing but hand tools and endless patience. It is the finest stonework in the whole complex, the place where the builders reached hardest to make the underworld magnificent, to give the deepest and most sacred chamber a face worthy of whatever they believed dwelt, or waited, or slept within it. And it is aligned and shaped with a care that suggests deep intention. Some who have studied it believe the chamber was made so that, at certain times in certain lights, it played its own quiet part in the rituals of the place, A sanctuary within the sanctuary, the destination of the descent, the deep, dark room at the center of it all. What exactly happened here, we do not know. No words survive to tell us. But you can feel, standing before that carved face in the lamplight, that this was the holy center, the still point of the buried temple, the deepest sacred dark. Stand a while before that carved face, in the lamplight, and let the care of it speak to you. Someone chose to make the deepest, most sacred room the most beautiful, to give the innermost dark a worthy face, though almost no living eye would ever see it. They cut the doorway within a doorway, and the stepped recess above, and trued every line, working in the cramped deep by the smallest of flames, purely so that this one chamber, at the still center of everything, would be fitting. It is devotion made visible in stone, the belief that the deepest place deserved the greatest beauty, and the patience to give it so. And there is a rightness in that, felt more than reasoned, that the center of a sacred place should be its stillest and its most cared-for point, the destination toward which everything else quietly leans. All the passages, all the descending steps, all the carved chambers seem to gather and settle here, at this deep, still heart, as a long day gathers and settles at last into the deep, still center of the night. You have come, through all the descent, to the middle of the temple and the middle of the dark. And here at the center, there is nothing left to do but be still. Let yourself come to rest here at the center, as if you had descended all this way simply to arrive at this one still chamber and be quiet in it. This is the heart of the place. There is nowhere deeper to go in meaning, only in stone, and it is utterly silent and utterly still. And it has been so for 5,000 years, a maid and sacred stillness, waiting at the center of the earth, holding you now in its deep quiet the way it has held the dark for 50 centuries. Rest here in the Holy of Holies, the finely carved sanctuary at the heart of the temple, the deepest sacred dark, the still center of the descent holding you gently in its 5,000-year silence. Rest. Below even the sacred chambers, there is one more descent to make down to the very lowest level of the Hypogeum, the deepest reach of all, some 10 meters and more beneath the surface of the world. Let us go all the way down, gently, to the bottom of the carved dark, and rest there at the deepest point of our whole night. The lowest level is plainer than the sacred rooms above, no painted vaults here, no grand carved doorways, only bare smooth chambers cut into the deepest stone. It is reached by careful steps, and it is the coolest and the stillest place in the entire complex, so far below the surface that no sound from the world above could ever reach it. No light, no warmth, no season, only the one deep, even unchanging cool of the earth's own body, and a silence so complete it seems to have weight. Some believe these deepest rooms held the temple's stores, its water, its grain, kept safe in the constant cool. Others that they held the dead, or served purposes we can no longer read. What is certain is the depth, and the stillness, and the dark. Stand here now, at the very bottom in your mind, with the whole weight of the temple and the town and the world piled up in the rock above you, and feel how safe the deep is. Nothing can reach you here. No noise, no hurry, no trouble of the surface. 10 meters of solid stone lie between you and the loud, bright, anxious world, and all of that stone is holding you, sheltering you, keeping the deep, quiet hole around you. This is the safest, stillest place there is, the deepest chamber at the bottom of the earth, where nothing has changed and nothing has hurried for 5,000 years. Think of how few people, across all of time, have ever stood at this deepest point. In the 5,000 years since it was carved, the deepest level has known almost no one, the ancient hands that shaped it, the few who came down to it in the temple's living centuries, and then no one at all for thousands of years, when the place was lost and sealed and forgotten. Even now, so few are permitted down into the fragile dark. This is one of the least visited, least disturbed places human beings have ever made. A chamber that has spent nearly the whole of its existence in perfect, unbroken solitude, at the bottom of the deep in the dark, alone. And there is a deep peace in that solitude, rather than any loneliness. This is a place that has been left alone, truly, profoundly left alone, and being left alone is exactly what has kept it whole. No one has troubled it. No one has hurried it. No one has asked anything of it. It has simply rested at the bottom of the deep in the dark for age upon age, undisturbed. And tonight you can borrow that same profound being left alone. No one asking anything of you, no one troubling your rest, only the deep solitude of the lowest chamber, holding you in its long, unbroken peace. Let yourself sink all the way down to this deepest level, in body as in mind. You have descended through every room, past the spirals and the sacred chambers, down and down, and here you are at the bottom, in the deep, cool dark, with nothing beneath you but the solid, patient earth, and nothing above you but the sheltering weight of stone. There is nowhere further to go. There is nothing more to do. There is only the deepest quiet holding you, at the bottom of the buried temple in the dark that keeps all things safe. Rest here on the deepest level, the coolest, stillest chamber at the bottom of the carved dark, the whole weight of the world sheltering you, the deep quiet holding you at the very bottom of the earth. Rest. We must speak now, gently and with reverence, of who was laid to rest in these carved chambers, because the Hypogeum, for all its beauty, was above all a place of the dead, and the dark was full of them. When the excavators cleared the temple, they found bones. Not a few, not dozens. The remains, it is reckoned, of some 7,000 human beings laid to rest in the underground rooms across the long centuries the temple was in use. 7,000. An entire vanished community, generation upon generation of them, carried down into the cool dark and laid among the spirals and the carved stone, until the chambers held the accumulated dead of many hundreds of years. They were not buried hastily or carelessly. They were brought here to this made and sacred place, with what seems to have been great reverence laid in the rock with red ochre, that color of life and blood, dusted upon their bones as though to warm them, or to give them life again, or to mark them as belonging to whatever the red spirals meant. This was a people's careful, loving, patient housing of its dead, across more centuries than we can easily hold in mind. There is nothing frightening in this, resting here in the dark tonight, nothing grim. It is, if anything, tender. Think of what it meant, that these ancient people did not abandon their dead, or fear them, or cast them out. They carved a temple for them. They painted the ceilings above them with the oldest and most beautiful patterns they knew. They brought them down into the safest, stillest, most sacred place they could make, and laid them there in the constant cool, in the deep quiet, in the red of life, and left them to rest. The whole vast labor of the Hypogeum, all that carving, all that descent was, in the end, an act of love toward the dead, a wish to give them a beautiful and enduring rest. And think of the span of it, that these 7,000 were not laid here all at once, in some single great event, but one at a time across many hundreds of years, as a community lays its dead across the generations. Which means that this place was tended and returned to and cared for by people who came down again and again over centuries to lay their own beside those who had gone before, so that a person carried down in the temple's later ages would be laid among the long-resting dead of their own great-great-grandparents' time, and further back still, into a depth of ancestry we can scarcely imagine. The whole vast family of a people gathered slowly into one deep dark room across more years than most nations last. There is a continuity in that which is its own kind of comfort. The the sense of belonging to something far larger and longer than a single life. To be laid here was to be gathered into the great unbroken company of one's people, back and back through the generations, all resting together in the same safe dark. No one was left alone. No one was cast out. Each was folded gently into the long line of those who had gone before, and kept with them in the deep, in the red of life, in the sacred quiet, held in the company of their whole ancestral people at rest. And they have rested. Whatever else we do not know, we know that. For 5,000 years in the deep, cool dark, undisturbed, in the most carefully made resting place their people could carve from the earth, the 7,000 have lain in peace. Let that tenderness settle over you as you drift, the ancient, human, loving wish to give the resting a safe and beautiful place to rest. A wish as old as this temple and as old as sleep itself. Rest here with the 7,000, the vanished community laid gently in the rock, the red of life dusted on their bones, the great labor of love that gave the dead a beautiful and enduring peace. Rest. Rest a while in this chamber in your mind. Lie back in imagination, on the cool, smooth floor, and look up into the vault of red spirals turning overhead, and let the beauty of it hold you, the impossible painted sky in the deep of the earth, the labor and the love of a vanished people curling above you in the oldest color in the world. They made this to be beautiful. They made it in the dark, where almost no one would ever see it, purely because it was sacred and it deserved beauty. And it is beautiful still, 5,000 years on, turning gently overhead in the silent dark. Rest here beneath the painted vault, the sky of red spirals turning overhead, the carved pillars conjured from solid rock, the most beautiful room in the underworld holding you softly in the dark. Rest. And among all the things the dark gave back, there is one small figure that has become the very soul of this place. A little clay statue, no longer than your hand, found down in the Hypogeum and carried up into the light, where she rests now in a museum, gazing at no one in perfect peace. She is called the Sleeping Lady, and of everything in this temple of the dead, she is the one who seems most gently to be simply asleep. She is a small figure of a woman, modeled in clay 5,000 years ago, and she is lying on her side upon a low couch or bed, her head resting on one arm, her body soft and full and at ease, in the unmistakable posture of deep and peaceful sleep. Whoever made her with tenderness and skill. You can see the bed beneath her, the fold of her body, the utter restfulness of her pose. She is not dead in her look. She is not in pain. She is sleeping deeply, softly, completely sleeping, the way you are drifting toward sleeping now. Why was she made and laid in the temple of the dead? Here we step gently into wonder, for no words tell us. Many who have studied her believe she speaks of a practice found in the ancient world. The idea that people might come to a sacred place and lie down and sleep there on purpose in the holy dark, so that in their dreams they might receive healing or guidance or a message from whatever powers dwelt below. A sacred sleep, a dreaming in the deep. If that is so, then the Sleeping Lady may be the image of exactly that. A sleeper in the temple, resting in the holy dark to dream, and the whole Hypogeum may have been, among its other purposes, a place made for sleep itself. Consider, too, how much tenderness is held in so small a thing. She is only clay, a little modeled figure that would fit in your two cupped hands. And yet whoever made her looked closely and lovingly at what a sleeping body truly is. The way it settles onto its side, the way the head finds the arm, the way the whole form softens and grows heavy and lets go. To make her, someone had to have watched sleep with affection, to have loved the sight of a person at rest enough to want to keep it, to shape it, to lay it in the sacred dark. She is, in a way, a 5,000-year-old act of tenderness toward sleep itself, and she has been rewarded for it with the deepest rest of all. Of everything that vanished people made, she is among the most cherished of the few things that survived, carried up out of the dark, kept safe, gazed upon with wonder by people born 50 centuries after her maker died. The small clay sleeper outlasted the temples, outlasted the language, outlasted the very name of the people who shaped her. Rest, it seems, endures. The one who lay down most peacefully has lasted the longest and is loved the most. Let that be a gentle thought to carry down, that there is a strange strength in stillness, and that what rests most deeply may endure the longest of all. Hold her image with you now as you sink toward your own sleep, because she is the perfect companion for it. 5,000 years ago, someone shaped this small clay woman lying peacefully asleep and set her in the deepest sacred dark. And there she rested through all the ages, in perfect stillness, a little figure of pure repose kept safe in the earth. Let yourself become like her tonight, soft and heavy, and at ease, lying still in the safe dark, sinking into a deep and peaceful sleep, as she has slept so calmly for 5,000 years. Rest here with the sleeping lady, the small clay woman at peace upon her bed, the ancient image of sacred sleep, the perfect companion drawing you down into the same deep and gentle rest she has kept for 50 centuries. Rest, before we leave the deep chambers behind and turn to the people who made them. Let us rest for a moment on a single staggering fact, one that changes how you see every wall we have passed. All of this, the whole temple, every carved room and false doorway and painted vault was made without metal. Not a single iron chisel, not a single bronze tool. Nothing but stone and bone and flaked flint and the patience of human hands. For the people who carved the Hypogeum lived before metal tools were known on their island. In the deep age we call the Stone Age, the Neolithic, when the sharpest edge a person could hold was a piece of flint or a shard of hard volcanic glass chipped to a working edge. With these, and with picks of antler and hammers of stone, they attacked the living rock, chip and chip and chip, hollowing out chamber after chamber, level below level, 10 meters down into the earth. The limestone was soft enough to yield to such tools, but only slowly, only grudgingly, only to endless, patient, repeated labor. Think of the time it must have taken. Not days or months, but generations, lifetimes of work, passed down from parent to child, the temple growing deeper and grander across centuries, each generation adding its rooms, deepening its passages, carving its doorways, so that the finished Hypogeum was not the work of any one person or any one age, but the accumulated devotion of a whole people across hundreds of years, all of it done by hand in the dark by lamplight, with the simplest tools human beings have ever used. And every stroke was a choice to keep going, to dig deeper, to make it more beautiful, for reasons they felt so strongly that they gave lifetimes to it. And picture, for a moment, the sheer number of hands the work required. Not one gifted carver, but many. Not one lifetime, but many lifetimes overlapping. Parents teaching children the feel of the flint against the limestone, the angle of the stroke, the patience the stone demanded. A grandparent might have begun a chamber that a grandchild would finish. The knowledge of how to do it passed down like a family trade from hand to hand, generation to generation, all of it carried only in memory and in the doing, never written, never drawn, only shown and learned and shown again. The temple grew the way a coral grows, slowly, collectively, each small life adding its small part to something none of them would ever see complete. There is a kind of peace in belonging to work like that, work too large for any one life. that you take up from those before you and hand on to those after. It asks no one to finish it. It asks only that you add your patient part and trust the rest to hands you will never meet. Against that slow, shared, unhurried making, the frantic pace of a single day looks very small. Let the stone teach you its patience, that the good things are made slowly, that there is no need to rush, that you may simply add your small, quiet part and then rest, and let the long work go on without you. Let that patience settle over you as the deepest lesson of the stone. There was no hurry in the making of this place. There could not be. It was the work of centuries. It was made slowly, faithfully, one small stroke at a time, by people who trusted that the work would go on after them and be finished by hands they would never see. There is a deep calm in that kind of making, the calm of the unhurried, the patient, the sure. Let it be your calm now at the close of the descent. No hurry, no haste, only the slow and faithful settling toward rest. Rest, here with the temple carved by stone and bone, the metalless labor, the flint and the antler, the centuries of patient hands that made the deep, dark, beautiful stroke by unhurried stroke. Rest. Let us rise for a while out of the deep chambers, not up into our own time, but up into their time, the world of the people who carved this place 5,000 years ago on their small island in the sea. For to understand the Hypogeum, we must stand for a moment in the lost world that made it in the deep prehistoric past, before history itself had begun. Picture the island then. Malta, a small sun-warmed rock in the middle of the Great Sea, its low hills bare and golden, its coasts falling in pale cliffs to the blue water. And upon it a people, farmers, herders, fishers, living in villages of stone and mud, growing their grain, keeping their animals, watching the sea and the sky, in a world without writing, without metal, without cities, without any of the things we usually mean when we say history. They left no texts because writing had not reached them, no chronicles, no names, no records of kings or wars. They lived and worked and worshipped and died in the silence before the written word. And yet these people, these simple islanders of the deep stone age, did something extraordinary, something that still astonishes everyone who learns of it. They became builders, great builders. Upon their little island, this people raised temples of stone so old and so mighty that they are counted among the very first great buildings in the whole story of humankind. Above ground, in the sunlight, they set up enormous blocks of rock, taller than a person, heavier than you can easily imagine, and fitted them into vast temple complexes. And below ground, in the dark, they carved the Hypogeum as its mirror. This was not a crude or a simple people. This was a people seized by a tremendous vision and possessed of the patience and the skill to make it real in stone. And their temples above ground are as astonishing as the one below. Scattered across the small island, this people raised great structures of standing stone, huge blocks, some weighing many tons, quarried and moved and set upright and fitted together into curving temple after curving temple, with no metal tools, no wheel as we know it, no beasts of burden to compare with ours. How they moved such stones, we still do not fully know. It was done by human muscle and cleverness and the patient cooperation of a whole community, working together across years toward a shared and sacred purpose. These are among the oldest freestanding stone buildings anywhere in the world, older than almost anything you could name. Picture the effort a single one of those temples represents, and then multiply it across the many they built, above ground and below, and you begin to sense the depth of their devotion. This was a people who organized their whole common life around building for their gods and their dead, who chose, again and again, across generations, to spend their strength and their years not on comfort or conquest, but on raising sacred stone. Whatever they believed it with their whole being, enough to move mountains of rock by hand in its service. We cannot read that belief, but we can see its size written across the island in stone. There is something moving in the thought of these nameless islanders, in the deep dawn of history, with the simplest of tools and the shortest of lives, pouring such genius and such devotion into building for their gods and their dead. We tend to imagine the distant past as poor and dim and struggling. But here, on this small island, 5,000 years ago, were people making some of the most remarkable structures the world had yet seen, out of nothing but stone and will and belief. Let us go on now and learn what little we can of who they were. Rest here, on the island before history, the golden hills above the blue sea, the nameless people of the deep past, the astonishing builders who raised temples before history began. Rest. Let us reckon gently with just how old this place truly is, because the age of the Hypogeum is one of those facts that the mind slides off of, too vast to grasp at first, and worth holding still and letting sink in. We say 5,000 years easily, but let us feel it. The Hypogeum was being carved, and the great temples of Malta were being raised, more than 5,500 years ago, which means they are older than the pyramids of Egypt. When the first stones of the Great Pyramid were laid, the temples of Malta were already ancient, already standing for centuries. They are older than the great monuments of Mesopotamia. They are older by a long way than Stonehenge on its distant plain. These carved chambers beneath the Maltese earth are among the oldest surviving works of human building anywhere on the face of the world, reaching back into a past so deep that almost everything we think of as ancient is, by comparison, young. Try to feel the length of that. Between you lying here tonight and the people who painted those red spirals, there stretch some 200 generations of human beings, 200 lifetimes laid end to end, parent to child, back and back and back, before you reach the hands that ground the ochre and lifted it to the ceiling in the lamplight. Every empire you have ever heard of rose and fell within that span. Every language you know was born within it. The whole of written history, all of it, is shorter than the time this temple has stood silent in the dark. It is almost too much to hold, and it was already old, already sealed, already forgotten for most of that time. And here is another way to feel it. When the temple builders were carving these chambers, the wheel had barely been imagined. There was no writing anywhere near this island. Iron was unknown across the whole world. The great civilizations whose names fill our histories had not yet been born. The pharaohs were centuries in the future. The Greeks and Romans lay thousands of years ahead. Almost the entire story we tell ourselves about the ancient world happened after this place was already old. When you stand in the Hypogeum, you stand before the beginning, near the very dawn of monumental human making, in a darkness older than nearly all the light of recorded history. Numbers that vast do something gentle to the mind if you let them. They loosen the grip of the immediate. Set against 5,000 years, the urgent things of today, the worry that would not leave you, the task undone, the word you wish you had or had not said grow soft and small and very quiet. They are real, but they are tiny against the deep of time, a single ripple on a sea that has been rolling since before memory. Let the vastness hold them for you. Let it make them small and gentle and far away, and let yourself rest in the great old calm that has outlasted every urgent thing that ever seemed to matter. There is a strange peace in numbers that large, if you let them wash over you rather than trying to grip them. Against 5,000 years, the worries of a single day grow very small and very quiet. The temple has kept its silence through all of it, through every trouble of every age, every rise and fall, every loud and urgent thing that ever seemed to matter, and none of it disturbed the deep dark of the chambers at all. Let that vast old calm reach up and hold you now. Your day, your cares, are a single breath against the long, slow breathing of this place. Let them go small and quiet and far away. Rest here in the deep of time, older than the pyramids, older than history, the 200 generations, the vast old calm of a place that has kept its silence since before almost everything. Rest. And who were they truly, these builders, these carvers of the silence? Here we come to the heart of the mystery, and it is a mystery of a particular and haunting kind. For the honest answer is that we do not know. We do not know what they called themselves, or what language they spoke, or the names of their gods, or the words they said over their dead. They left no writing at all. They are, to us, entirely nameless. Everything we know of them, we know from what they made and left: the stones, the bones, the carved chambers, the red spirals, the little clay figures like the sleeping lady. From these silent things we can guess at a great deal: that they farmed and fished and herded, that they honored their dead with enormous care, that they held some deep and powerful set of beliefs about the earth and the dark and what lay beyond death, strong enough to move them to carve a temple 10 meters into the rock. But their voices are gone. Their thoughts are gone. The meanings they poured into every spiral and every chamber went with them into the silence, and we can only stand before their work and wonder. And this deepens the mystery to something almost unbearable: this whole remarkable people, this civilization of temple builders, came to an end. After more than 1,000 years of raising their temples and carving their underworld, the culture that made the Hypogeum faded from the island. Why? We do not fully know. Perhaps famine, perhaps a changing climate, perhaps disease, perhaps some slow unraveling we cannot see. But the great buildings stopped. The temples fell silent. And in time, other peoples came to the island who did not build as they had built, and did not carve as they had carved, and did not, it seems, even remember who the makers had been. The temple builders vanished as completely as their names. And yet we are not wholly without them, these vanished people, for the silent things they left do speak in their way if we listen gently. The care with which they laid their dead tells us they loved. The beauty they carved where no one would see it tells us they held things sacred. The little sleeping figure tells us they knew rest, and perhaps dreamed, and perhaps hoped. The red they dusted on the bones tells us they wished their dead warm, and wished them perhaps to live again. We cannot hear their words, but we can feel the shape of their hearts pressed into the stone, and the shape is deeply, recognizably human. Across 5,000 silent years, we know at least this of them, that they were like us in the ways that matter most. There is a strange intimacy in meeting a people only through their tenderness, through the care they took, the beauty they made, the love they showed their dead. We know nothing of their quarrels, their politics, their names and rivalries and daily complaints, all the noise that fills the record of later ages. We know only the quiet, lasting things, that they built and honored and grieved and hoped. It is as if the long forgetting kept only the gentlest part of them and let the rest go. And so what reaches us across the immense dark is not a history of kings and wars, but something softer and truer, the simple, silent evidence that here once were people who loved and made beautiful things and laid their dead to rest with care. There is a deep and gentle sadness in that, worth resting in without fear, the thought of a whole people, brilliant and devoted, who gave centuries to making something beautiful and sacred, and then passed entirely out of memory, leaving only their silent stones behind. And yet the stones remain. That is the other half of it. They themselves are gone, utterly gone, nameless and voiceless, but the beauty they made is still here, still standing, still holding its dark and its silence 5,000 years on and reaching us tonight across all that immense forgetting. What they were is lost. What they made endures. Rest here with the people who left no name, the nameless, voiceless builders, the vanished civilization of the deep past, present now only in the beautiful silent stone they left behind. Rest. There is one more thing to understand about what the Hypogeum was, and it lies in that strange fact we noticed on the way down, that its chambers are carved to imitate built temples. For above ground, on the same island not far from the hidden underworld, this same people raised real temples of standing stone, out in the open air and the sunlight. And the Hypogeum below is the deliberate mirror, the dark reflection of those temples of the living day. Picture the two together, above and below. In the sunlight, the great open temples, massive blocks of stone set upright, curved chambers and grand doorways, altars and courts where the living came to worship, to bring their offerings, to gather in the light of day. And beneath the earth, its shadowed wind, the Hypogeum carved into the very forms of those sunlit temples. The same doorways, the same curved chambers, the same architecture, but sunk into the dark and given to the dead. What the people built in stone above for the living, they carved in rock below for the dead. A temple of the day and a temple of the night, a house of the living and a house of the departed, made in the same shape, as if to say that the two worlds were one world, mirrored across the threshold of the earth. It is a profound and beautiful idea when you sit with it. That death was imagined not as a nothingness, not as a casting out, but as a passage into a mirror world, a temple below matching the temple above, where the dead dwelt in the same sacred forms the living knew, only in the cool and the dark and the deep. To carry the dead down into the Hypogeum was to bring them home to a house they would recognize, the familiar shape of the holy places, remade in the underworld, so that they would not be strangers in the dark. And think how much gentler a thing that is than fear. It would have been easy, it is easy, in every age to look at death and see only an ending, a darkness, a thing to dread. But these people looked at it and built a home. They imagined the dead not cast out into nothing, but welcomed down into a familiar house of stone, the mirror of the temples they had loved in life, waiting for them in the deep. They made death a threshold, not a wall, a passage into a known place, not a fall into the void. That is one of the tenderest things a people can do, to take the hardest fact there is, and gently, patiently, across centuries of labor, make it feel like coming home. And perhaps there is a small comfort in it for us too, who still must meet the same hard fact. We may not share their beliefs or know what they truly imagined, but we can feel the kindness of the impulse and let a little of it soften our own night, the old human wish to see the dark not as an enemy but as a shelter, not as an ending but as a rest, not as a casting out but as a coming home into the quiet. As you sink towards sleep, you are passing through a small nightly version of that same gentle threshold, down out of the bright, loud day, into the dark that is not to be feared but to be rested in, like a home. Rest with the tenderness of that thought and with the symmetry of it. Above and below, light and dark, the living and the departed housed in mirrored temples across the threshold of the ground. It speaks of a people who looked at death and did not only fear it, but tried to make it gentle, tried to build for the dead a beautiful and familiar home. And it speaks, too, of the deep human sense that the dark below is not the enemy of the bright above, but its quiet twin, its resting place, its night. As you sink toward your own night now, let that symmetry hold you. The day has its temple, and so does the dark, and you are passing softly, gently into the temple of the night. Rest here with the mirror of the living temples, the house of the day and the house of the dark, the sunlit temple and its shadowed wind below, the gentle mirrored worlds of the living and the resting. Rest, let us return in our minds to the red, to the ochre that curls across the ceilings and was dusted upon the bones of the dead, because that color, more than almost anything else in the Hypogeum, seems to carry the beliefs of the people who made it, if only we could fully read them. Red was not chosen idly. Across the ancient world, wherever we find the dead laid to rest with red ochre, we sense the same deep instinct at work. For red is the color of blood, and so the color of life itself, the warm red that runs in every living body, that spills at birth and at death, that the ancient eye would have seen as life's very substance. To dust the pale bones of the dead with red, to paint the chambers of the dead in red, may have been to give them back a little of that life, to warm them in the cold dark, to wrap them in the color of the living blood, perhaps in the hope of life renewed, of warmth returning, of some passage through death and out the other side. We cannot know for certain, but the instinct feels legible across all the distance, the wish to comfort the dead with the color of life, and the spirals painted in that red may carry the same hope. For the spiral, curling inward and outward, has seemed to people the world over to speak of cycles, of the turning that returns, of things that wind away and wind back, of death that might, like the coiling line, curl round again toward life. Above the chambers of the dead, painted in the color of blood, the red spirals may have been a prayer in pigment, not an ending but a turning, not a stop but a cycle. The dead not gone, but wound away into the dark to wind, perhaps, back again. We are guessing, of course, reading a silent people by the color they left behind. But the guess is gentle and human, and it fits the whole spirit of the place. A temple made not to imprison the dead, but to cradle them in the color of life, beneath the turning spirals in the safe and sacred dark. Let that warmth reach you too, as you rest the old red color of life, the curling spirals of return, the ancient tender hope that the dark is not an ending but a turning. Rest here with the color of life, the red ochre warming the bones, the spirals of return curling overhead, the gentle ancient hope painted in the color of blood upon the walls of the dark. Rest. Let us return, too, to the strange resonance of the oracle room. The way a deep voice sounded into the carved niche seems to fill the whole temple with a rolling hum. Because in our own time, people have studied that effect and wondered what it might have meant to the people who made the place. And here we must tread carefully and gently, keeping to what is known and holding the guesses lightly. What is measured is real enough. The chamber does resonate powerfully at the low pitch of a deep human voice, so that sound seems to swell and roll through the surrounding rock. That much you can stand in the room and feel. What people have wondered is whether that deep, all-surrounding hum might have done something to the minds of those who gathered here in the dark. Whether a low, steady, resonant sound, filling the body as much as the ears, in the black silence of the underworld, might have helped carry the worshippers into some deeper, stiller, dreamlike state of mind. It is a reasonable wonder. Deep, steady sound does soothe and slow us. We know that much from our own bodies. But whether the ancient builders understood this and used it on purpose, we truly cannot say. It remains a guess, and an honest teller must call it one. Still, it is a lovely thing to imagine, resting here not as fact but as possibility. The chambers in total darkness. The people gathered, silent, and a single low voice beginning to sound into the stone, and the whole temple beginning to hum around them, a deep, even resonance filling the dark, filling every chest, slowing every breath, until the boundary between the self and the sacred dark grew soft and dim, and something like a waking dream came over them, down there in the resonant deep. It is worth saying plainly, though, that we should not let the wonder run away with us here. For this is exactly the kind of detail that legend loves to seize and inflate. You will hear it claimed that the builders possessed some secret lost science of sound, that they tuned the whole temple to work strange effects upon the mind, that they knew things we have forgotten. But the honest truth is smaller and quieter. The chamber resonates as many carved stone spaces do, and it is genuinely striking to stand in, and beyond that we are guessing. Perhaps they shaped it so on purpose. Perhaps they found it and treasured it. Perhaps they simply built a room and it happened to sing. We do not know, and it is better to rest in the real, modest wonder than in a grander, invented one. And the real wonder is enough. A room carved from living rock 5,000 years ago, that takes a low human voice and swells it into a deep, filling hum through the surrounding stone. That is astonishing on its own and needs no embroidery. It is enough to stand in the dark and feel the stone answer a voice. It is enough to know that the people who made this place worshipped and grieved and perhaps dreamed in a chamber that could do that. The truth, held plainly, is quieter than the legend, and far more beautiful and far more restful to lie within the dark. Whatever the truth of it, you can borrow the effect now gently for your own rest. Imagine that deep, low, even hum, rising from the stone all around you, steady and warm and endless, a sound with no edges, filling the dark, holding you in it. Let it slow your breath. Let it soften the edges of your thoughts. Let it carry you the way it may once have carried the worshippers, down and down into a deep, still, dreamlike quiet where the self grows soft and the dark grows kind. Rest here with the sound and the deep, the low, even hum rising from the stone, the resonance with no edges, the deep, dreamlike quiet it draws you gently down into. Rest. And now we come to the idea that makes this place, of all the ancient wonders, the truest companion for a night like ours, the possibility that the Hypogeum was, among its other purposes, a place made for sleep. Not the last sleep of the dead only, but a living, deliberate sleep, a sacred sleeping, undertaken on purpose in the holy dark to dream. We know that in the ancient world, in later ages and other lands, such a practice existed and was treasured. People would travel to a sacred place and prepare themselves and lie down to sleep within it, believing that in their dreams there in that holy dark, they might be healed of their sicknesses or given guidance or granted a message from the powers below. They called it in later times by various names. The heart of it was always the same, a sleep sought out as sacred, a dreaming made holy, a lying down in the dark to receive what the waking world could not give. And when we find, deep in the Hypogeum, the little figure of the sleeping lady, laid so peacefully upon her bed, many have wondered whether this ancient temple, too, was such a place, whether people came down into these chambers, into the resonant dark, and lay down among the spirals and the sleeping dead, and slept on purpose to dream. We cannot prove it. The people left no words to tell us. But everything about the place leans toward it. The deep dark, the resonant hum, the constant cool, the image of the sleeping woman. the whole atmosphere of a made and sacred stillness. It is easy to believe that human beings, 5,000 years ago, came down into this deliberate quiet and lay down and let sleep take them, seeking in their dreams something the bright, loud surface world could not give them: rest and healing, and the touch of whatever waited in the deep. And if they did, if this was truly a temple of sacred sleep, then you are doing tonight in your own bed, in your own dark, the very thing they came all this way and dug all this deep to do. You are lying down in the quiet to let sleep take you and to dream. You are their distant companion in the oldest sacred act of all, the letting go into sleep. Let that join you to them gently across the 5,000 years, the same lying down, the same surrender, the same deep human trust that sleep will carry you somewhere good. Rest here with the sacred sleep, the ancient dreaming in the holy dark, the temple that may have been made for sleep itself, the 5,000-year companionship of everyone who has ever lain down in the quiet to dream. Rest. Now, because we are honest here, and because honesty is its own kind of calm, let us speak of the stranger stories that have gathered around the Hypogeum, the rumors and the mysteries and the missing things, and let us handle them plainly and gently and set the wild ones aside. For a place this old and this strange draws legends the way the deep draws water, and it is worth knowing which are worth carrying and which are best left at the door. Some of what went missing is simply the sad, ordinary loss of early archaeology. When the Hypogeum was cleared more than a century ago, the methods were not what they are now. Things were moved and scattered and poorly recorded, and some of what was found, including, it is said, certain of the human remains, was dispersed or lost track of over the years, in the careless way that early excavations often lost things. Among the bones, a few were reported to have unusual shapes, and over time this ordinary muddle of lost records grew in the retelling into wilder tales of hidden races, of strange beings, of secrets deliberately concealed. But there is no good evidence for any of that. What we have is not a hidden race. It is a poorly kept record and a scattering of ancient bones, which is a smaller and sadder and far more human story. And there is an older legend still, a famous one, a tale that long ago a group of children went down into tunnels beneath the Hypogeum and were never seen again, vanishing into some endless passage in the dark. It is a haunting story, and it has been told and retold for the better part of a century. But it is a story, a piece of folklore, unverified, unsupported, the kind of shivery legend that clings to every deep and ancient place. There is no record to confirm it, and good reason to think it never happened at all. We can let it go. There is a real relief in setting such tales gently aside, here in the dark, because the truth of the Hypogeum needs no embroidery. It is astonishing enough on its own. A 5,000-year-old temple carved by hand into the earth, painted with the oldest spirals in the world, holding the reverent dead of a vanished people. That is the real wonder, and it is a calm and a beautiful one with nothing in it to fear. Let the wild stories drift away into the dark where they belong, and keep only the true thing which is quiet and old and kind. Rest here with the things set gently aside, the lost records and the clinging legends let go, only the true quiet wonder kept, nothing in the real dark to fear. Rest. There is one more thing to know about the Hypogeum as it exists in our own day, and it is a tender and telling thing, that the place is now, once again, carefully protected from us, sealed, in a gentler way than the earth once sealed it, because we learned that our very presence could harm it. The temple that survived 5,000 years in the dark turned out to be fragile in the light of the modern world. When the Hypogeum was opened and people began to come down into it in their numbers, something quietly troubling was noticed. The breath of visitors, the simple warmth and moisture of many human bodies passing through, began over the years to threaten the ancient red paintings, the spirals that had kept their color for 5,000 years in the still dark. The warmth we carried, the damp of our breathing, the small changes we brought just by being there, were enough to endanger what 50 centuries of silence had preserved. And so, to save it, the doors were in effect closed again. Now only a few may enter at a time, and the air is carefully kept, and the deep dark is guarded once more, protected, this time not from invaders but from us. There is something humbling and moving in that, worth resting on. This place survived because it was left alone, in the constant cool and the unbroken dark and the perfect stillness, the very conditions we have been sinking into all night. The moment the restless, warm, hurrying modern world came pouring in, it began, without meaning to undo what the patient dark had kept. And so we drew back and gave the temple its stillness again, and let the deep quiet close over it once more, because we understood at last that the stillness was the thing that had saved it. The dark was not the temple's enemy. The dark was its keeper. There is a quiet humility in it too, for us, a lesson about our own restless age. We tend to think that to know a thing we must go to it, open it, handle it, walk through it, use it. And yet here is a place that we harm precisely by coming to it, that we preserve precisely by staying away, that gives us its greatest gift, its survival, only when we leave it in peace. The Hypogeum asks us to learn a harder kind of care, the care of restraint, of drawing back, of letting a fragile and sacred thing simply be, in its stillness, unvisited and undisturbed. It asks us, in a sense, to love it by leaving it alone. And perhaps that is a kindness we might learn to show ourselves as well. We, too, are worn down by too much handling, too much noise, too much light, too much of the restless day pouring in without pause. And we, too, are restored by the opposite, by stillness, by dark, by being left in peace, by the quiet that lets the frayed and weary places knit themselves back whole. Tonight you are giving yourself exactly the care the temple needs, the drawing back from the day, the closing of the doors, the sinking into still dark quiet. Let it restore you as it restores the temple gently, in the peace of being left alone. Let that be a last gentle lesson from the deep as you drift, that some things are kept safe only by stillness, only by quiet, only by being left in peace in the dark. The temple is healed by rest, and so are you. The restless day undoes us, the still dark restores us. Tonight you are giving yourself the very thing the ancient temple needed, the quiet, the cool, the dark, the stillness, the being left in peace. Let it keep you as it keeps the temple. Let the still dark close gently over you and heal you and hold you safe. Rest here in the fragile dark, the ancient temple guarded once more by stillness, the deep quiet that keeps and restores, the peace that heals the temple and heals you alike. Rest. Let us think gently about all the time between the vast stretch of years between the last ancient worshipper who climbed up out of these chambers and the workmen's iron tool that broke back into them in 1902. For the Hypogeum was not always known and visited. For most of its long existence, it was lost, utterly, completely forgotten, sealed in the dark beneath a world that had no idea it was there. There is a quiet lesson in comparing the Hypogeum below with its sister temples above, the great open-air temples the same people raised in the sunlight. For those temples, too, survived across the 5,000 years. You can still walk among their mighty standing stones today. But they did not survive as the Hypogeum survived. They stood out in the weather and in the world, and the world and the weather wore them down. Think of what the sunlit temples endured. 5,000 years of rain and wind and sun, slowly softening the carved stone, blurring the fine work, weathering the surfaces to roughness. 5,000 years of people, later peoples who did not hold the places sacred, who took stones for their own building, who left their marks, who did not always treat the old temples kindly. The paintings that once may have colored them are long gone, washed and faded away by the open air. What remains above ground is magnificent still, but it is worn and bare and stripped the strong bones of the temples, with the delicate life of them weathered off across the ages. And then you go down into the Hypogeum, and you find what the sunlit temples lost. Down here, sealed from the weather, sealed from the world in the constant cool and the unbroken dark, the delicate things survived. The red spirals still glow on the ceilings. The very paintings that vanished from the temples above are still here below, kept perfect by the dark. The fine carving is still sharp. The surfaces are still smooth. The Hypogeum is the one place where the full beauty of this vanished people still lives, exactly because it was buried, exactly because it was given to the deep and the dark instead of the sun and the air. There is something almost tender in the thought that the delicate things outlasted the mighty ones. We would expect the great heavy standing stones out in the open to endure best, and the fragile paintings, the fine surfaces, to be the first lost. But it was the other way round. The huge exposed monuments were slowly worn. The delicate painted spirals, hidden and sheltered, were perfectly kept. Strength did not save the temples above. Shelter saved the temple below. It was not the mightiest that endured, but the most gently protected, the most deeply hidden, the most left alone. And is that not often the way of it? The loud and exposed and much-handled things wear down. The quiet, sheltered, protected things endure. What is kept safe is not what is strongest, but what is most gently guarded, held out of the wind, out of the wear, out of the restless traffic of the world. The temple teaches it in stone, to last, be sheltered, to be kept whole, be kept quiet, to endure, rest in the deep dark out of the reach of the wearing world. It is a lesson about stone and about paint, and as you drift now about you. It is the same lesson the whole night keeps returning us to, and it is worth resting in once more, that the dark preserves what the restless bright world wears away. What stood out in the sun and the wind and the traffic of the ages was slowly stripped and worn. What sank into the still cool dark was kept whole and beautiful and alive. There is a gift in the dark, and in the stillness, and in being sheltered from the wearing world, a gift of preservation, of keeping, of being held safe and whole. Let the dark give you that gift tonight as it gave it to the temple. Rest here, with what the sunlit temples lost, the worn stones above and the perfect spirals below, the beauty the dark kept whole, the deep gift of being sheltered from the wearing world. Rest. For all that we have learned standing in these chambers tonight, it would be wrong to leave you thinking the Hypogeum is understood. It is not. At its heart it remains, and will likely always remain, a deep and genuine mystery. And there is a particular pleasure, as we near the end of the telling, in resting not in the answers but in the honest, open questions. We do not truly know why they made it. We can see that it housed the dead, and feel that it was sacred, and guess at rituals and sacred sleep and the meaning of the red spirals. But the actual beliefs, the actual purpose, the actual thoughts in the minds of the people who gave centuries to carving it, are lost to us, sealed away as completely as the temple itself once was. We do not know what they called this place, or what powers they believed dwelt in it, or what they hoped would happen to their dead in the deep. We do not know whether the resonant oracle room was made on purpose or found by chance, whether people truly came here to sleep and dream, what the spirals meant to the eyes that painted them. We do not even know, with any certainty, the name of the people themselves. And there is more we cannot explain, the sheer why of the whole endeavor, why a people with the simplest of tools and the shortest of lives would choose to spend centuries hollowing a temple 10 meters into solid rock, when they might have lived so much more easily. What vision, what belief, what need could be strong enough to command that much labor across that many generations? We can admire it endlessly. We cannot fully understand it. The Hypogeum keeps its deepest secret exactly as it kept its physical self, folded away in the dark, beyond our reach. We are so used in our age to answers, to being able to look up any fact, to having the world explained and labeled and searchable, to the feeling that everything is known by someone somewhere. And so there is something almost startling and quietly freeing about a place that simply will not give up its heart. The Hypogeum was made by people we cannot name, for reasons we cannot fully grasp, in a language we will never hear, and no amount of study will ever entirely change that. It stands at the edge of the knowable and holds its silence, and lets us come only so far and no further. And that edge is a gift, not a frustration, especially now at the end of a long day when the mind is tired of answers and hungry for rest. You do not have to figure anything out tonight. You do not have to know why they carved it, or what the spirals meant, or who they were. You are allowed, for these last quiet hours, to simply not know, to lay down the whole restless effort of understanding, and let the mystery be a mystery, and rest in it exactly as it is, deep and ancient and unexplained and utterly at peace with being so. And that is all right. That is, in fact, a comfort of its own kind as you drift towards sleep, the reminder that the world still holds true mysteries, that not everything has been explained and labeled and used up, that there are still deep, old, silent places that keep their secrets and can only be wondered at, not solved. You do not have to understand the Hypogeum to rest in it. You do not have to solve it. You can simply let it be what it is, a beautiful, ancient, unexplained silence, and rest in the not knowing, the way you are learning tonight to rest in the dark. Rest here, with what we still cannot explain, the deep-kept secret of the temple, the questions with no answers, the true old mystery it is a comfort, not a trouble, to leave unsolved. Rest. Before we let the history go entirely and sink into the last long rest, let us ask one gentle human question, one that reaches past the Hypogeum to something in all of us. Why the earth? Why down? Why did these people, and so many peoples across the world and across the ages, choose to carve their most sacred places and lay their most cherished dead, not up toward the sky, but down into the dark body of the earth? Part of it, surely, is the deep old feeling that the earth is where we come from and where we return, that the ground is a kind of mother, out of whose dark body life rises, and into whose dark body it sinks again at the end. To lay the dead in the earth is to give them back to the source, to fold them into the deep from which the living green and the living creatures all emerge. The spiral turning inward, the descent into the dark, the return to the ground, these may all be the same ancient thought, that the deep earth is not an ending but a home, a womb as much as a tomb, a place of rest and perhaps of return. And part of it surely is what we have felt all night, that the deep earth is safe. It is cool and constant and still and sheltered. Nothing reaches it, nothing changes it, nothing hurries it. To go down into the earth is to go somewhere protected, somewhere held, somewhere the storms of the surface cannot follow. The instinct that led the ancient people down into the rock is the same instinct that leads a tired creature into a burrow, a den, a deep, quiet shelter, the instinct to be enclosed and covered and kept when it is time to rest. Notice how differently we treat the two directions, up and down, in almost all our speech and feeling. To rise, to climb, to reach up, to soar, these we tie to effort, to striving, to the daylight labor of getting on. But to go down, to sink, to settle, to descend, these belong to rest, to release, to the letting go at the end of the day. We do not rise into sleep. We fall into it. We sink into it. We go down under. The very words confess it, that rest lives in the downward direction, in the sinking, in the deep, exactly where the ancient people carved their sanctuary, and exactly where you are drifting now. So the descent we have made all night is not only a journey into an ancient place, it is the natural shape of rest itself. You are always going to go down tonight, down out of the day, down under the surface of waking, down into the deep of sleep. We have only given that downward journey a companion and a place, a 5,000-year-old temple sinking into the rock, mirroring chamber by chamber, the very descent your tired body is making now into the deep. Follow it the rest of the way. Let the going down be easy. It is the oldest and most natural motion there is, and you feel it too. You have felt it all night, following the descent down and down into the dark and finding it not frightening but soothing, not cold but sheltering, not an ending but a rest. The pull downward into the safe dark is one of the oldest feelings a living thing can have, the pull toward the burrow, the deep, the covered quiet, when the day is done. Let yourself feel it fully now and yield to it. The ancient, animal, human longing to go down into the safe dark and rest. It is carrying you as it carried them into the deep. Rest here with the reason we go down into the earth, the deep old pull toward the safe dark, the earth that is womb as much as tomb, the ancient longing to be covered and kept and quiet when the day is done. Rest, and so we come to the turn of the whole night, the place where the history softens away and the pure rest begins. For everything we have descended through, all these carved and silent chambers, has been leading here to a single gentle understanding, that the Hypogeum is a temple of the dark, a temple of stillness, a temple of rest. and that in following it down you have been building in yourself a temple of the night. Think of all we have gathered on the way down, the cool, constant dark that keeps and heals, the deep stillness that preserves what the restless world wears away, the safe enclosure of the earth, the red spirals of return curling overhead, the sacred sleep, the dreaming in the deep, the sleeping lady at peace upon her bed for 5,000 years, the 7,000 laid gently in the rock at rest. Every single thing this ancient place holds is, at its heart, about rest, about the dark as a keeper, the deep as a shelter, sleep as something sacred and safe. The whole temple is a 5,000-year-old hymn to the very thing you are about to do. So let the descent be complete now. You have come all the way down past the first chambers, past the painted vault, past the Holy of Holies, down to the deepest level into the still, cool heart of the rock. There is nowhere further to go in the temple, and nowhere further to go in the telling. There is only from here, the long rest itself, the sinking into sleep as into the deepest chamber, the giving of yourself to the safe dark as the ancient people gave their dead, gently, lovingly, into the keeping of the deep. From here, I will speak more softly and more slowly and ask less and less of you, until there is nothing left but the quiet and your own slow breath and the deep, safe dark holding you. You have entered the temple of the night. You are in the deepest chamber, and now there is only rest, long and deep and safe and sacred, in the still dark that has kept this place, and will keep you gently until morning. Rest here in the temple of the night, the whole descent complete, the deepest chamber reached, nothing left before you now but the long, deep, sacred rest in the safe and holding dark. Rest. Think of what passed up in the sunlight during that long forgetting. The temple builders themselves faded and vanished. New peoples came to the island, and then others after them. Ships arrived from across the sea. The island passed through the hands of one power after another, century upon century, empire upon empire. Languages changed. Gods changed. The very memory of who had carved the underworld was lost so completely that the people living directly above it had no notion at all that beneath their fields and their homes lay a 5,000-year-old temple full of the reverent dead. Generation after generation walked over it, plowed above it, built houses upon it, and never knew. The deep dark kept its secret perfectly, through all of it, for thousands of years. There is something staggering in that, the sheer completeness of the forgetting. A place made with such enormous labor and love, such centuries of devotion, sank so entirely out of human memory that it might as well never have existed, for all that anyone above knew. The spirals kept their red in the dark. The sleeping lady kept her rest. The 7,000 kept their silence, and no living soul remembered they were there for longer than all of recorded history, until the ground gave way beneath a well. Try, for a moment, to feel the sheer breadth of that forgetting. The temple was already ancient when the first sailors of the great early empires crossed the sea. It was already lost and buried through the whole rise and fall of the classical world. It lay unknown beneath the island as knights and armies and kingdoms came and went above, century upon century upon century, none of them dreaming of the painted dark beneath their feet. The forgetting was not a gap of a generation or two. It was longer than almost the entire span of history that we can name, an ocean of years in which the temple simply was not known to exist at all. And in all that immense time, The dark asked nothing and changed nothing. It did not decay the paintings or crumble the carvings or disturb the sleeping dead. It only held them patiently, silently, perfectly still, through an expanse of years the mind can barely cross. When at last the iron tool broke through, what it found was not ruin but preservation. The spirals still red, the chambers still sharp, the deep quiet unbroken. The forgetting had been a kind of faithful keeping all along, holding the temple safe in the dark across a stretch of time longer than memory, waiting. And yet, and this is the gentle turn, the forgetting did not destroy it. Quite the opposite. Because it was lost, because it was sealed and unknown and undisturbed, it survived. The long forgetting was, in its way, a long protection. The dark folded over the temple and kept it whole, precisely because no one came, precisely because it was left in perfect peace. Sometimes what looks like being forgotten is really being kept safe. Let that quiet paradox rest over you as you drift, that there is a kind of forgetting that is not loss but keeping, a sinking into the dark that does not destroy but preserves. Rest here, in the long forgetting, the thousands of years of unknowing, the perfect secret the dark kept, the forgetting that turned out to be a keeping. Rest. Let us rest now in the simplest thing of all, the cool and the still of the deep. You are far down in the earth, in your mind, in the deepest chamber of the temple, and everything here is cool, and everything here is still. And there is nothing you need to do but feel it and let it hold you. Feel the coolness first, that gentle, even, constant cool of the deep rock, neither cold nor warm, but perfectly, softly temperate, the same in every season, the same across 5,000 years. It is the coolness of a place the sun has never reached and the heat has never troubled, a coolness that soothes, that settles, that quiets. Let it rest against your skin in your mind. Let it draw the warmth and the busyness of the day gently out of you and leave you cool and calm and still. And feel the stillness, the deep, complete stillness of a place where nothing moves. No wind here, no hurry, no sudden sound. The air itself is still, and has been still for ages. The stone is still, the dark is still. Everything is held in a stillness so deep and so old it seems to have weight, to press gently in on every side, quieting everything it touches. There is nothing here that stirs, nothing here that rushes. Only the vast, patient, ancient stillness of the deep earth holding you in its quiet. Let yourself become part of the cool and the still. Let your body grow cool and calm and settled. Let your breath grow slow and even and quiet. Let every restless part of you come to stillness, the way everything in the deep is still. There is nowhere you need to be and nothing you need to do. There is only the cool and the still, and you resting in them deep in the safe earth, as quiet and as settled as the ancient stone. Rest here in the cool and the still, the even constant coolness of the deep, the vast ancient stillness that presses gently in, your whole self growing cool and calm and quiet in the safe earth. Rest. Feel now the stone all around you, the solid, enclosing rock on every side, holding the chamber, holding you. There are meters of it above your head and meters below, and the whole patient weight of the earth beyond, and all of it is solid and steady and utterly, unshakably safe. Let the safety of the stone come into you. There is a deep comfort in being enclosed, a comfort as old as the first creature that ever crept into a cave or a burrow to rest. The open is exposed, the open must be watched. But here in the deep chamber, wrapped in solid stone on every side, There is nothing to watch for, nothing to guard against, nothing that can reach you. The rock is between you and all of it. The rock holds the world out and holds the quiet in. You are enclosed and covered and shielded. In the safest kind of place there is, a strong, still shelter of solid stone deep in the keeping earth. The stone does not change. That is part of its comfort. It has stood exactly so for 5,000 years, and it will stand exactly so long after this night. It is not going anywhere. It does not shift or fail or fall. It simply holds steady and patient and sure, the way it has held the dark and the silence and the sleeping dead across all the ages. And now it holds you in the same steady, patient, unfailing way, asking nothing, needing nothing, only holding, only sheltering, only keeping you safe in the deep. So let yourself trust the stone and rest in its safety completely. You do not have to hold yourself up. The chamber holds you. You do not have to keep any guard. The rock keeps it for you. You are enclosed in solid, steady, ancient stone, deep in the safe earth, and nothing can trouble you here. Let every last watchfulness go. Let yourself be held and shielded and safe, wrapped in the patient stone, deep in the keeping dark. Rest here in the safety of stone, the solid rock enclosing you on every side, the steady, unfailing shelter, the deep safe keeping that asks nothing and holds you sure. Rest. Feel now beneath all the stone and all the dark, the earth itself, the vast, patient, ancient body of the earth, holding you the way it has held everything always, since the beginning. You are lying deep within it now, in your mind, cradled in its cool dark, and it is holding you as gently and as surely as it holds the roots of the trees and the deep still water and the sleeping stone. The earth is the oldest keeper there is. It held the 7,000, laid gently in these chambers for 5,000 years. It holds the bones of everything that has ever lived and died upon it, folded softly back into its dark. It holds the mountains and the seas. It holds the deep roots of every growing thing. It holds the warmth in its heart and the water in its dark. And it holds them all without effort, without strain, patiently, endlessly, the great steady body of the world cradling everything it carries. It is holding you now in exactly that way, softly, surely, without the least effort, as naturally as it holds the stone. There is nothing to fear in being held by the earth. It is the gentlest holding there is. The earth does not grip or clutch or demand. It simply supports, simply cradles, simply carries, letting everything rest in its deep dark exactly as it is. You do not have to do anything to be held by it. You do not have to earn it or keep it or stay awake for it. You have only to let yourself sink into it and be carried, the way the whole sleeping world is carried softly through the dark. So let yourself be held by the earth. Let it take your whole weight, every heavy, tired, settling part of you, down into its cool, dark keeping. Let it cradle you the way it cradles the deep roots and the still water and the ancient stone. You are held by the oldest, gentlest keeper there is, deep in the safe dark, and it will hold you softly all through the night and give you back gently to the morning. Rest here, held by the earth, the vast, patient body of the world cradling you in its cool dark, the oldest, gentlest keeper carrying you softly as it carries all sleeping things through the night. Rest. Let the dark now be a blanket, not a thing to fear, but a thing to be wrapped in, soft and warm and close. For the dark down here in the deep is the kindest dark there is, complete and gentle and total, folding around you on every side, covering you, hiding you, tucking you into the deep quiet like a child at the end of the day. Feel it fold around you, the soft, complete velvet dark, closing gently over your eyes, over your body, over the whole chamber, until there is nothing to see and nothing you need to see, only the deep, warm dark holding you close. It asks nothing of you, this dark. It only covers you. It only keeps the light and the world and the day away and lets you disappear gently into the soft black quiet, the way the temple disappeared into the dark and was kept safe for 5,000 years. In the dark, you can let everything go. You do not have to be seen. You do not have to be ready. You do not have to keep your eyes open or your mind awake or your guard up. The dark covers all of that and takes it gently away and leaves you free to soften, free to sink, free to let your eyes rest heavy and closed and stay closed, and let the soft black blanket of the deep dark cover you completely. It is the same dark that has cradled this place across all the ages. The same deep kind keeping dark that held the spirals and the sleeping lady and the reverent dead, safe and whole and undisturbed for 5,000 years. And it is holding you now in exactly the same way. Softly, kindly, completely, a warm dark blanket drawn up over the whole of you, tucking you into the deep. Let it. Let the dark cover you. Let it tuck you in. Let it keep you, soft and safe and hidden, all through the long, quiet night. Rest here with the dark as a blanket, the soft, complete dark folding gently around you, covering you, tucking you into the deep, the kind keeping dark drawn warm over the whole of you. Rest. Grow heavy now, as heavy as the stone, and let yourself settle completely into the deep. The way a stone settles into the earth and stays, the way everything down here has settled into a stillness that lasts 5,000 years. There is nothing left to hold up. There is nothing left to carry. There is only the settling, the sinking, the coming to rest in the safe held dark. Let the heaviness come into your feet and your legs, sinking down. Let it come into your hands and your arms, too heavy to move, resting exactly where they are. Let it fill your shoulders and your back so that the whole weight of you is given over, given down, sinking into the deep the way the ancient people were laid gently into the rock, settled and still and at rest. Heavy as stone, soft as sleep, sinking gently all the way down. You are held in the rock now, cradled in the deep chamber, wrapped in stone and dark and stillness on every side. There is nowhere further to sink and nothing further to do. The chamber holds you. The earth holds you. The dark holds you. And you can let go of all of it, the whole day, the whole world, the whole weight of being awake and simply be held, heavy and still and safe in the deep keeping rock, the way the temple has been held for 5,000 years. So rest here, held in the rock at the bottom of the deep. Let your breath grow slow and slower. Let your body grow heavy and heavier. Let your mind grow soft and dim and quiet. There is nothing to reach for. There is nothing to keep. There is only the deep, safe dark and the steady stone and the patient earth, holding you gently, keeping you softly, cradling you the whole night through. Rest here, held in the rock, heavy as stone, settled into the deep, wrapped in dark and stillness, cradled in the safe keeping earth the whole night through. Rest. Let time slow now all the way down to the pace of the deep. Up on the surface, time hurries, clocks and schedules and the fast, bright rush of the day. But down here in the deep earth, time moves differently. It barely moves at all. 5,000 years have passed in these chambers like a single long quiet breath, and tonight you can borrow that slowness and let your own time slow to match it. Think how slow the deep is. A single drop of water gathers on the stone and swells, and falls, and another gathers over hours, over days. The rock changes across ages, not moments. Down here, nothing is in a hurry. Nothing has ever been in a hurry. The deep does not know how to hurry. It has all the time there is and more, and it spends it slowly, patiently, one still moment after another, endlessly, gently, without the least haste. Let your own sense of time sink into that slowness. There is no clock down here. There is nowhere you have to be, and no hour you have to keep, and no rush of minutes pulling at you. Let the fast, bright time of the day fall away behind you up on the surface, and let yourself drift into the slow, deep time of the earth, where a moment can last as long as it likes, where there is no next thing coming, where everything simply is, softly, slowly, for as long as it is. In this slow, deep time, there is no reason to hurry towards sleep, and no reason to hold it off. Sleep can come as slowly as it likes in its own deep time, the way the water gathers on the stone. You have nothing to do but drift in the slowness, letting each moment be long and quiet and unhurried, letting the deep time carry you, as gently and as slowly as it carries everything, down toward the sleep that is coming in its own good time to take you. Rest here in the slow, deep time, the unhurried pace of the earth, the long, quiet moments, the deep, slow time carrying you gently, without haste, towards sleep. Rest. Let us return softly to the sleeping lady, that little clay figure of a woman lying so peacefully asleep, laid in the deep of the temple 5,000 years ago, and let her be your teacher and your companion now, in these last slow reaches towards sleep. For no one in all of history has slept so long or so peacefully or so well as she. Picture her again, gently. She lies on her side upon her low couch, her head resting easily upon her arm, her body soft and full and utterly at ease. There is no tension in her anywhere. There is no worry in her face. She is simply, completely, deeply asleep, given over entirely to her rest, without a single care, without holding anything, without keeping any part of herself awake. She sleeps the way a person sleeps who is perfectly safe, and perfectly held, and perfectly at peace. And she has slept that way, unbroken, for 5,000 years. Let your body soften into her posture in whatever way is comfortable for you. Let your head grow heavy and easy where it rests. Let your body settle onto its side or its back, soft and full and at ease, every muscle letting go the way hers have let go for 50 centuries. Let there be no tension anywhere in you, not in your face, not in your hands, not in your shoulders. Let yourself become, as nearly as you can, an image of pure and peaceful rest exactly as she is, soft and heavy and completely at ease. And let her peace become your peace. She is not troubled by anything. She does not hold anything or guard anything or wait for anything. She simply rests deeply and safely and forever in the keeping dark. Let yourself join her there, the two of you at rest in the deep, 5,000 years apart, and yet doing the very same thing, the oldest and gentlest thing, lying still in the safe dark, letting go completely, sinking into a deep and peaceful sleep. Rest here like the sleeping lady, soft and heavy upon your bed, every tension gone, at perfect peace in the keeping dark, sinking into the same deep sleep she has kept so gently for 5,000 years. Rest. Sink a little deeper now, down to where nothing reaches, the deep still place at the very bottom of the dark, below the reach of every trouble, every noise, every worry of the world above. You have come so far down already. Let yourself come the last of the way to the deepest quiet where nothing from the surface can follow you at all. Think of how far above you the world now is. The bright rush of the day far above and fading. The noise, the hurry, the weight of all the things that filled your hours far above up on the surface, unable to reach down into the deep where you are resting. All of it is up there in the light, and you are down here in the deep dark with meters of solid, safe stone between you and every last bit of it. It cannot reach you here. It cannot touch you. Down here there is only the quiet. Whatever was pressing on you today, let it stay up on the surface. It cannot follow you down. The deep does not let it in. The worries, the tasks, the words, the weight, they all belong to the bright, loud world above, and that world is far away now, and growing fainter, and you are sinking below the reach of all of it into the deep, still place where nothing presses and nothing pulls and nothing reaches. Let it all stay up there in the light. You are going down into the dark where you are free of it. Down here where nothing reaches, there is nothing left but peace. No trouble can find you in the deep. No hurry can pull you. No noise can wake you. There is only the deep, still dark and the safe stone, and the quiet so complete it seems to hold you like water, far below the reach of the whole world, in the deepest, safest, stillest place there is. Let yourself rest there, at the very bottom where nothing reaches, where nothing troubles, where there is only the deep and the dark and the peace. Rest here down where nothing reaches, below the reach of every trouble, the world far above and fading. Only the deep, still safe dark holding you at the bottom of the quiet. Rest. Notice now the one soft thing that still moves in all this stillness. Your own breath, going quietly in and out, slow and easy, the gentlest motion in the deep. You do not have to change it or deepen it or count it. Just notice it softly, coming and going on its own, the one quiet living rhythm in the still dark. Let each breath be slow and soft and unhurried like everything in the deep. Breathing in cool and quiet, the still air of the deep chamber, and breathing out slow and soft, sinking a little deeper with each one. Breathing in and breathing out and down. There is nothing to do but let it happen, this gentle tide of the breath going in and out on its own, carrying you a little deeper with every slow exhale, rocking you softly towards sleep. Feel how the breath settles you. Each slow out-breath lets a little more of you go, a little more weight, a little more holding, a little more of the day released and let go, sinking down into the deep. Breathing in softly, breathing out and heavier and softer and deeper. You are not making it happen. It is happening all on its own, the faithful, gentle breath moving through you, quiet as the deep, steady as the stone carrying you down. Let the breath be the last thing you follow as everything else grows dim. Just the slow, soft rhythm of it, in and out in the deep dark in the safe stone, the one quiet living thing in all the ancient stillness, and it is enough. It is all you need. It will breathe you gently down the last of the way into sleep, in and out, soft and slow, down and down into the deep. Rest here with the breath in the deep, the one soft rhythm in the still dark, each slow exhale letting a little more of you go, the gentle, faithful breath carrying you down into sleep. Rest. And now let the whole world above go gently, softly, without a backward glance. All night we have been descending, leaving the surface further and further behind, and now in these last deep reaches you can let it go entirely. The day that is over, the world that is up there, everything that is not this deep, safe, dark, and your own slow breath. Let the day go first. It is finished. Whatever it held, the tasks, the words, the small victories and troubles, it is behind you now up on the surface, done, and it cannot follow you down into the deep. You do not have to carry it into sleep. Let it stay up there in the fading light and let yourself sink below it, free of it, into the quiet dark where the day cannot come. Let tomorrow go too. It is not here yet, and it does not need you tonight. It will come round on its own in the morning in its own good time, and you will meet it rested when it comes. But it is far off now, up above, beyond the deep, and it has no claim on you here. Let it go. Let it wait up there in the light. There is nothing of tomorrow you need to hold tonight down in the deep, safe dark. And let the whole restless world above go, the noise of it, the hurry of it, the weight of it, all of it up there on the bright, loud surface, far above the deep, still chamber where you are resting. You have gone down below all of it, into the deep, into the dark, into the safe, held quiet, and there is nothing left up there that you need to hold or keep or carry. Let it all go, gently up into the fading light, and let yourself sink, free and light and unburdened, into the deep, where there is only rest. Rest here, letting the world above go, the day and the morrow and the whole restless surface released into the fading light. Only the deep, safe dark and your slow breath remaining, nothing left to carry down into sleep. Rest. Come all the way down now into the deepest quiet there is, the silence at the very bottom of the temple, at the very bottom of the dark, where there is no sound at all and has been none for 5,000 years. Let that great silence close gently over you and hold you and still you completely. Feel how deep the quiet is down here. No wind, no voices, no hum of the world, not even the small sounds you never notice until they are gone, nothing. Only silence, whole and soft and complete, filling the chamber, filling the dark, filling you. It is the deepest quiet the earth can offer, the quiet of a place beyond the reach of every sound, and it does not press or threaten. It soothes, it settles, it lays its soft hand over everything and stills it. Let the quiet reach all the way into you. Let it still your body so that nothing moves but the slow, soft rise and fall of your breath. Let it still your mind so that the thoughts grow fewer and softer and slower and further apart, sinking into the silence one by one, until there are almost none left at all, just the deep quiet and the dark and you resting in the stillness. There is nothing here to listen for. There is nothing here to break the silence. There is only the deepest quiet holding you, and in that deepest quiet there is nothing left to do but rest. No sound to follow, no thought to chase, no task, no hurry, no wait, only the vast soft silence of the deep, closing gently over you, filling every corner of the dark, holding you in a stillness so complete and so kind that there is nothing to do but let go and sink into it and rest. Rest here, in the deepest quiet, the whole soft silence of the deep closing gently over you, stilling your body, stilling your mind, holding you in a stillness 5,000 years deep. Rest. Let us sink one last slow time, down through the levels of the temple, not to see them now, but simply to feel the going down, the gentle, endless descent, carrying you deeper and deeper into sleep. Let each level you pass be a stage of your sinking, softer and quieter and further down. Down from the first level, with its faint last memory of the light above, down into the dark, leaving the surface behind. Down past the painted vault, the red spirals turning gently overhead as you pass beneath them, and on, and down. Down past the sacred chambers, the deep carved doorways into the stiller dark below. Down and down, the steps soft beneath you, the air cooler with each level, the quiet deeper, the dark warmer and closer, carrying you gently down. You do not have to picture any of it clearly now. Just feel the sinking, the slow, soft, endless going down, level by level, deeper and deeper into the safe dark. There is no bottom you can fall too hard against. There is only more softness, more quiet, more dark, the deeper you sink. Down and down, past each level, deeper into the still, closer to sleep. The descent that has carried you all night, carrying you now the last of the way. Let the sinking be effortless, like sinking into deep, soft water, like sinking into a deep, soft bed, like sinking into sleep itself. Down through the levels, down through the dark, down through the deepening quiet, softer and slower and further with each moment, until you can no longer tell where the sinking ends and the sleep begins, until you are so deep, and so soft and so still that you are simply gently gone down into the deepest rest. Rest here, sinking through the levels, the slow, soft, endless descent, level by level into the safe dark, deeper and quieter and closer to sleep, the going down carrying you the last of the way. Rest. Let yourself be now, simply heavy and safe, the two together the deepest comfort there is. Heavy with the sweet, full heaviness of a body letting go completely. And safe, wrapped in the deep stone, held by the deep earth, covered by the deep dark. Heavy and safe and sinking gently into sleep. Feel the heaviness fill you from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, a warm, soft, sinking heaviness, drawing you down into the bed, into the deep, into rest. Your eyelids heavy and still. Your face, soft and slack and easy. Your arms and your hands too heavy to lift. Your legs sinking. Your whole body heavy and warm and giving itself over completely to the deep with nothing held anywhere, nothing tensed, nothing kept, only the sweet, full heaviness of total rest. And feel the safety around all that heaviness, the solid stone on every side, the deep earth beneath and above, the warm dark folded close. You are held, you are covered, you are shielded and enclosed and utterly safe, deep in the keeping earth, where nothing can reach you and nothing can trouble you and nothing is asked of you at all. Heavy and safe, sinking and held, letting go completely in perfect safety in the deep. There is nothing sweeter than this and nothing more you need to be heavy and safe and sinking into sleep in the deep dark that holds you. Let the heaviness take you all the way down. Let the safety hold you the whole way. There is nothing to do but sink, heavy and warm and safe into the deep keeping dark, down into the sleep that is waiting, soft and close to take you. Rest here heavy and safe, the sweet full heaviness drawing you down, the solid safety holding you close, sinking completely into sleep in the deep keeping dark. Rest. And now let there be nothing to hold. Nothing at all. All night we have set things down, one by one, the story, the history, the day, the world above, and now, in these last soft moments before sleep, you can let go of the very last of it and hold nothing and be free. There is nothing you need to hold onto tonight. Not the temple, not its mysteries, not a single thing you have heard. It will all be there, safe in the morning like the Hypogeum itself, kept in the dark until you want it again. Not your body, the earth is holding that, the stone is holding that, and you can let it go completely. Not your breath, it moves on its own, faithful, without any help from you. Not tomorrow, not the day behind you, not any weight or worry or task. There is nothing anywhere that needs you to hold it now. Feel how light it is to hold nothing, to open your hands in the dark and let the last of everything drift softly away, down into the deep, out of reach, gone quiet. You are carrying nothing now. You are keeping nothing. You are responsible in these last soft moments for absolutely nothing at all. Everything is held for you by the earth, by the dark, by the deep. And you are free, empty-handed and weightless and free to simply sink into sleep. So let the very last thread slip from your open hands. Let it all go gently into the deep. And be light and be empty and be free, nothing to hold, nothing to do, nothing to be but asleep. Sink the last soft distance into the deep, keeping dark, weightless and unburdened and free, into the rest that is waiting to take you. Rest here with nothing to hold, hands open in the dark. The last of everything drifted gently away, weightless and empty and free, sinking unburdened into sleep. Rest. Rest now in the last and gentlest truth of the whole night that you are being kept. The deep is keeping you exactly as it kept the temple, exactly as it kept the sleeping lady, exactly as it kept the reverent dead, safe and whole and undisturbed, across 5,000 years. You do not have to keep yourself tonight. Something older and deeper and gentler is doing it for you. Feel how much is holding you safe right now without your doing anything at all. The bed beneath you taking your whole weight. The dark of the room folded close and kind. The deep earth of the whole turning world holding you as it holds everything. And your own faithful body breathing itself, its heart keeping its slow, steady time, all of it working quietly to keep you safe and resting through the night, asking nothing of you at all. You are held, you are kept. You do not have to hold yourself together, the deep is doing that. Let yourself be kept the way the temple was kept. Let go of the keeping, the guarding, the holding together that you carry through your days. You can set it down now, all of it. You do not have to watch over anything or manage anything or keep anything from falling. The deep will keep it. The dark will keep it. You are folded into something safe and patient and old, exactly as the Hypogeum was folded into the keeping earth. And it will hold you gently through the whole long night and give you back whole to the morning. There is nothing left to do now but be kept. Nothing to carry, nothing to guard. Let the bed keep you, and the dark keep you, and the deep keep you, and let yourself grow soft and heavy and trusting in their keeping, the way the sleeping temple has trusted the deep for 5,000 years. Safe, held, kept, sinking gently into the deep that keeps all things and keeps you now softly until the light comes round again. Rest here in the deep that keeps you, held by the bed and the dark and the whole keeping earth. Nothing to guard, nothing to carry, folded safe in the deep as the temple has been kept for 5,000 years. Rest. ND now, softly, we come to the end of our long descent together, to the threshold of sleep, where I will leave you gently in the deep good dark. There is nothing more to learn tonight, nothing more to hold, nothing more to do. We are only going to lower the lamp slowly and let the last of the warm light dim away and let you drift the rest of the way down on your own. Imagine the little flame that has lit our whole way down through the temple, the small warm lamp that showed us the carved doorways and the red spirals and the deep still chambers. It has done its work now. We are as deep as we are going to go. We are at rest in the deepest quiet in the safe dark. And so we let the lamp go down, slowly, gently, the little flame growing softer and dimmer, the warm gold light shrinking to a glow, and the glow to an ember, and the ember so softly to the sweet, complete dark. Let your own light lower with it. Let the last brightness of the day, the last flicker of waking thought, dim down, softer and softer, warm and fading, until there is only the gentle dark and your slow breath and the deep, safe quiet. There is nothing left that needs the light now. We have seen all there is to see. Everything is safe and still and kept. You can let the lamp go all the way down into the soft, warm dark and rest. Lower and softer and dimmer. The last warm light fading to an ember and the ember to the dark and the dark folding gently, kindly, close. And you sinking with it down past the last of the light into the deep, soft quiet where sleep is waiting. Rest here as the lamp is lowered, the little flame that lit the whole descent dimming softly to the sweet dark. Everything seen, everything safe, everything kept, and you drifting gently down into the deep, good dark. Rest. Take the last few steps down now, the final soft descent, the last gentle sinking into the deepest rest. You are almost there, almost all the way down, almost asleep. Let these last steps be the softest of all, carrying you the final quiet distance into sleep, down the last carved steps into the deepest dark, each step softer than the last, each step quieter, each step deeper into the warm, safe stillness at the very bottom of the temple, at the very bottom of the night. You do not have to see the steps, you do not have to feel them. Just let there be beneath you the gentle going down, the soft descent, carrying you lower and lower into the deep, into the dark, into sleep. There is nothing at the bottom to fear, only more quiet, more softness, more safe, warm, dark. The deepest chamber, the stillest place. The end of the descent where there is nothing left to do but rest. You are sinking down to it now softly, on the last few steps, closer and closer, deeper and deeper, until the steps themselves dissolve into the sinking and the sinking dissolves into sleep. Down and down and down. The last soft steps, the deepest dark, the stillest quiet. Let them carry you the whole rest of the way. There is nowhere further to go after this and nothing further to do, only to arrive softly at the bottom of the deep, in the safe, warm dark, and rest there completely until morning. Rest here, on the last steps down, the final soft descent into the deepest dark, each step carrying you closer to sleep, the going down dissolving gently into rest. Down here at the bottom of the deep, there is nothing to guard. Let me say it softly so that some quiet part of you can hear it and finally let go completely. There is nothing for you to guard tonight, nothing to watch over, nothing to keep safe. You can lay down every last watchfulness here in the deep, safe dark and rest with no guard at all. All day some part of us stands watch, keeps track, stays ready, holds a corner of itself alert against whatever might come. But here in the deepest chamber, wrapped in solid stone, held by the deep earth, folded in the safe dark, there is nothing that can come and nothing to watch for and nothing to guard against. The stone guards you. The earth guards you. The deep dark guards you. You are kept safe by the whole weight of the world, and you do not have to keep any part of that safety yourself. So let the watchfulness go, the last, deep, tired watchfulness that you carry even into the night. You can set it down now. You do not have to stay ready for anything. You do not have to keep any part of yourself awake and alert. Nothing needs guarding. Nothing needs watching. It is all being kept perfectly by the deep, and you are free at last to let even the watching go and sink completely into unguarded, trusting, total rest. Nothing to guard, nothing to watch, nothing to keep ready. Only the deep, safe dark holding you, guarding you, keeping you while you let go of everything and rest. Let the last watchfulness dissolve into the deep. Let yourself be, for this whole long night, entirely unguarded and entirely safe, held by the deep that keeps all things, free to sink all the way down into sleep. Rest here, with nothing to guard, every watchfulness laid down, the deep and the stone and the dark keeping you safe, free at last to rest unguarded and trusting in the deep. Rest. Rest now in the warm dark, for the dark down here at the end is not cold but warm, not empty but full, not lonely but close and kind and holding. It is the warm dark of the deepest shelter, the warm dark of the safe enclosed place, the warm dark of sleep itself, folded gently all around you. Feel its warmth, soft on every side, the close, gentle warmth of being deeply sheltered, deeply held, deeply safe. There is no chill here, no exposure, no bare or open place. Only the warm dark, wrapped close like the softest blanket, like the deepest burrow, like the safe warm center of the sleeping earth. It holds you and warms you and keeps you, and asks nothing at all but that you rest in it. Let the warm dark fill everything. Let it close softly over your eyes and your body and the whole of the chamber until there is nothing anywhere but the warm, close dark, holding you gently, keeping you safe, carrying you softly toward sleep. There is nothing to see. There is nothing to do. There is only the warm dark and you resting in it, deep and safe and held. And it is the same warm dark that has cradled this deep place across all the ages, the same close kind, keeping dark that held the temple and the sleeping lady and the reverent dead, warm and safe and whole for 5,000 years. Let it hold you now in exactly that way. Let the warm dark wrap you close and keep you gently, all through the long quiet night, safe in the deepest shelter, deep in the keeping earth. Rest here in the warm dark, the close kind warmth of the deepest shelter folded gently around you, holding you, keeping you, carrying you softly towards sleep. Rest, and here is the last gentle permission, the one that lets you finally, fully let go. The world above goes on without you now, and that is exactly as it should be. Far up on the surface, the world keeps turning, keeps its watch, keeps time, and it needs nothing from you tonight. You can lay it all down and rest while the world goes on above without you as it always has. Think of it, far above you now, the turning world up in the light, keeping on, the stars wheeling slowly over the island and the sea, the night moving quietly toward its distant morning, everything that has to happen happening all on its own without the least help from you. It does not need you to watch it. It does not need you to keep it turning. It will do all of that itself faithfully through the whole night while you rest deep below in the safe dark. So you can put it all down, the whole world, the whole day, the whole weight of being awake and being needed and keeping watch. It is all up there on the surface in the light, going on without you, kept by hands far older and surer than yours. There is nothing up there that depends on your staying awake. There is nothing that will fail if you let go. The world above will go on faithfully and be there whole in the morning when you rise gently back up into the light. For now, let it go on without you. Let the surface keep its own watch. Let the night turn toward morning on its own. You have gone down, deep down into the safe dark, below the reach of all of it, and your only task now, your only task in all the world is to rest. So rest. Let the world above go on without you and sink the last soft distance into the deep and sleep. Rest here, as the world above goes on without you, the turning night keeping its own watch far above, needing nothing from you, everything kept without you, free at last to sink all the way down into sleep. Rest. You are nearly asleep now, and that is exactly right. Let these last few words be soft beneath you like a hand smoothing a blanket in the dark. You do not need to follow them. You do not need to remember them. You can let them wash over you and through you and away as you drift the final soft distance down into sleep. Down the last of the way now into the deepest rest, sinking, soft and slow and weightless, into the safe, warm dark at the very bottom of the deep. There is no floor to fear and no bottom to reach, only the endless gentle deep, growing warmer and darker and softer the further down you drift, holding you closer with every slow breath. Down past the last of the light, down past the last of the thoughts which loosen and dim and drift away, down into the deep where there is only rest. You are so heavy now and so soft and so safe, held in the deep stone, cradled in the deep earth, wrapped in the warm deep dark, sinking gently down the way everything here has sunk into a stillness that lasts 5,000 years. Nothing hurries you, nothing troubles you, nothing asks anything of you at all. There is only the deep and the dark and the warm, safe quiet and you drifting softly down into sleep. Let the deep have you now completely. Let it close gently over you the way it closed over the temple and keep you, the way it has kept the sleeping lady safe and still and at peace through all the ages. Down the last of the way, into the deep, into the dark, into sleep. Rest here down the last of the way, sinking soft and weightless into the deep warm dark, held and safe and heavy, the deep closing gently over you and carrying you the last of the way into sleep. Rest. Sleep now and sleep well. You have traveled a long way tonight down through 5,000 years, down through the carved and silent dark, down through every level of the deep, all the way to here, to this soft quiet, to this deep safe rest. And here we part gently until the next time the Codex opens. The temple will keep its silence in the deep as it has for 5,000 years. The sleeping lady will keep her peaceful rest. The red spirals will keep their color in the dark. And the world above will keep its slow turning and carry the night gently round to morning, and lift you softly back into the light, rested and whole when it is time. But that is all a long way off, and none of it needs you now. Now there is only sleep and the deep safe dark and the quiet keeping of the earth. Thank you for making this long descent with me tonight. Rest deeply, be well, be safe. And whenever you are ready, let the last of my voice fade away beneath the quiet and drift the final soft distance down, all on your own, into sleep. Good night. Sleep now, the dark is kind and the deep is safe, and you are held and all is well. Good night, good night.